Nothing on this show is authorized by the Food and Drug Administration, and nothing said here is intended to treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose any disease. Contact your physician before starting a diet or exercise regimen, including supplementation. This is not medical advice and is for entertainment purposes only.
And on this episode...
And we're back, audience.
Been a fun week.
Yes, it has. Kind of. It's been a slow week for us.
Been a crazy week for me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the podcast today, we have Mark Bruggeman, who is a pseudo-Amazon expert, works for Cograph, which is an Amazon agency. And you work specifically in the world of dietary supplements. So your whole thing is representing dietary supplement brands, selling on Amazon, some massive brands, big money brands. And Mark is the guy that helps facilitate the process. So we got him on here to kind of talk about the recent changes coming to Amazon's policies and how that sort of coincides with the FDA and everyone trying to figure out what the hell are they going to do.
Oh, I don't think they're going to do anything. I think they're doing everything through this Amazon thing. And that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's FDA doesn't want to or isn't able to enforce things, and so
they do it economically instead of legally.
Yeah.
Well, Amazon probably just doesn't want to be sued.
Well, they don't want to violate FD&C as well. It was Section 331. You know, we had a conversation with Daniel Fabricant about this. So if you...
But before we get into this, I'm an idiot guy. I just started a supplement company. What do I have to do to get on Amazon to begin with? I've got a pre-workout and a fat burner, and I'm thinking about making a dick pill.
The trifecta.
It is, isn't it?
All at the same time.
All at the same time.
Yeah. First, you're going to build muscles, and you're going to cut up, and then you're going to be so big and so cut, you're going to get laid.
And
Hopefully.
sweaty.
Very sweaty.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
Shredded.
But I got these 3 products. What hoops do I have to jump through simply to get on Amazon?
Shockingly, none. Like,
So I can post and go?
You can post and go. It's a question of when Amazon decides to enforce their rules. It's not consistent. So, like, go way back. It used to be you just listed your products and there was never any questions asked, like, at all.
I remember those days.
Those were fun days. And then one day we woke up and like a third of the listings in the category were down. And Amazon said, we need to see your GMP certificate. We need to see your COA for each product. We need to see pictures of the product to make sure that what you're submitting a COA for, what you're submitting all this information for matches your listing. And, that was okay. Sellers got wise to it. They started photoshopping COAs.
Ooh.
And Amazon stopped enforcing it. So like I saw...
Well, then there was also another layer of the banned substance testing.
Eventually. But again, enforcement was, much like the FDA, enforcement wasn't there.
Yeah.
So it was like if Amazon felt like, they wanted to ask about your product suddenly, this one product, we need to see your COA and you need banned substance testing.
But you could have 9 other products on there, but they're going to single that
you could have
one out.
200 products on there. They're going to single that one out. I've had clients go literally years without a single product in their catalog being popped. Like Amazon never asked any questions. And so you have these brands that fail testing over and over again when like Now Foods tests them and Amazon never asks. So today, as of right now, you can go ahead and list your fat burner, your dick pill or whatever, right, on Amazon, and they might follow up and say, okay, we need you to send this to a lab. And so this is the difference, right? And they don't want to get the COA from the sellers anymore. They don't trust the sellers.
For those of you at home, a certificate of analysis or a C of A is basically a bill of materials that you get from your manufacturer saying that, yes, we added all these ingredients into this tub.
And now they want to see heavy metals testing. They want to see your microbial analysis. So, do you have what do they test, like strep? Like Staph.
A lot of stuff, yeast, molds. I mean, there's a lot of different things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they want to see that testing, but they don't want to see it from you. they're going to tell you you have to send it to NSF, you have to send it to Eurofins, you have to send it to UL. UL was a new one for me. I've never seen I guess, again, for viewers at home, right, UL is if you ever plug something into an outlet, you've probably seen a circle with a U and an L in the circle, right? As Underwriter Labs, they test like everything that goes into the outlets. Apparently they do supplement testing. That's new to me. Or at the very least, they're contracting it out to a network of labs.
I thought that was really suspicious.
So I'm going to pause here. You left a comment on LinkedIn. It was very specific. You said, what 3 labs? This is the moment I posted about this on LinkedIn. You said, what 3 labs are going to get are going to be listed on by Amazon, or whatever your comment was specifically.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? You said 3 labs specifically, and you were right.
I want to say it was like just from the context clues that you gave in like your post. And I was like, what? Like that was the first thing that came to my mind, because I'm aware that like, just the analytical testing industry alone is like its own niche within dietary supplements. And that, there's probably maybe 24 labs, at least that I can think of in the United States, that will take like either your raw materials or your product and test it for what is on the label, or test a raw material against a C of A. Which, boiling that down to just 3 seems like a very anti-competitive practice.
Yeah, it does.
That's what I said. And so
there's like a lot of room for fudgery.
There's a
lot of room for back scratching.
Fudgery.
That kind of fudgery.
And that's still at play. What they did fix was, for the longest time, Amazon's requirement was your lab needed to be ISO 17025 certified.
Yeah.
So a lot of companies, they went with, Joe Schmo labs, right? They had no certifications or anything.
And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of shit labs out there that are Joe Schmo labs that'll be like, yep, passing result, next.
Exactly. And so Amazon said, no, it has to be accredited, it has to be an actual accredited lab. And so sellers met that requirement. Many sellers did.
Yeah.
Not all. Some of them just, fudged their COAs. But now it's, these 3. And if you have testing from an ISO accredited lab, you can send that test result into one of our 3 labs. They will verify your COA to make sure it actually meets our requirements. And if it does, then they'll give you the thumbs up. But again, the labs communicate with Amazon. Amazon doesn't want to talk to the sellers.
They've got to be getting some sort of financial something for this, because they're effectively outsourcing this part of their job to these 3 different labs.
It's
like a kickback of some sort of contract.
They've got to be paid something, because now they're the gatekeepers between, the other 21 labs I just talked about and Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to go to them.
You have
to pay them. So their price is going to go up. Their demand is going to go up.
And so there's the questions that we don't have answers to. Like, if I am like testing out of an accredited lab and those test results get sent to Eurofins, is Eurofins charging me now to review my lab results that I already had done?
Of course they are.
Probably.
They've got to be.
They have to be. I got to believe it. Unless you got your testing done at Eurofins, which is the case for a lot of people. Like, I already tested with Eurofins. I'm not going to test again. So they reach out to Eurofins, hey, can you just send my testing along to Amazon? So yeah, it's still a question of, do you get popped? Right now, they're only looking at those 3 categories: sports nutrition, which is insanely vague. They're looking at fat burners, any weight loss supplements, and they're also looking at any sexual enhancement supplements, right? So
all the things Joey mentioned.
He was pretty specific about that.
Okay.
And they're only looking at a portion of each of these. Their goal is to look at the quote unquote high risk supplements, because technically speaking, even if Amazon doesn't know a product that they're distributing contains adulterations, but they're still distributing it, that is illegal. Mm-hmm. FDA can come after them. And the FDA has already made it pretty clear that they are looking at Amazon as the responsible party, because we had, back in December, we had a warning letter go to Amazon about several brands that were selling adulterated supplements on Amazon, and that letter did not go to the brands themselves. The people making and selling the product did not get a warning letter. Amazon did. FDA is sending a pretty clear message by doing that. It's
strategic. I feel like all of this is strategic.
So let's back up. Because we just hopped right into this going to the podcast. Usually we warm you up and talk about where you're from and yada, yada, yada. So as of recently, there's been new legislation, or is this a new policy specific for Amazon that they've changed?
Company policy.
Company policy.
And when did this go into effect?
This days ago.
April 2nd, I want to say.
And what are the
The
specifics?
the 22nd was the New York law. That's a whole different.
Yeah, that's
what,
different.
What were the specifics of before and now? What is required?
Before, send us your COA, send us your GMP certificate, send us pictures of your product. Now,
and banned substance testing.
And banned substance
testing. That was
testing
actually
as
something
applicable.
that came along after that.
Yeah, it was so prior to April 2nd, if your product was in one of 3 categories, there were specific pharmaceutical substances that you had to test for. So weight loss supplements had certain things, like, I mean, easy example.
Sibutramine.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Yeah.
be able to pronounce that. That's why Joey's here. But for sexual enhancement, like you're basically testing for Cialis and Viagra, right, and so forth. So they have specific substance they wanted you to test for. It was part of your COA. It needed to be on there. And your COA, right, like if you have a product, right, there are, even on the wall behind me, right, there's pre-workouts here that have like 20 ingredients. And it's pretty normal. You test your raw materials. As long as they pass testing, you go blend your product, and then you spot test a few ingredients to make sure that the blend was correct. You're not necessarily testing your finished product after blending for purity across the board.
It's very expensive to do that.
It's very expensive. It's duplicative. It's probably unnecessary. Amazon doesn't care.
I like that word.
They want to see a COA where you tested the purity of every single ingredient in your finished product and that it matches label claim. But they never cared about heavy metals. They never cared about pesticides. They never cared about microbes. None of that. It was just verify label claim, test for these additional adulterants if applicable, and that was it.
So with my brand, Core Culture, for example, I didn't have to do any of that, but we don't have a fat burner.
Yeah, but you're still covered under that policy. You may not have to test for adulterants, but you still are supposed to at some point be asked for a COA.
Never was.
Never was. You're not alone. Now, you talk to some people. I've gotten very heated comments about this on LinkedIn where they tell you like, no, like majority of my clients, all these accounts that I've touched, they all get asked for COAs. Maybe, I don't know who's running the account. I don't know what you're saying on your listings. They're saying there's extensive back and forth with Amazon over the COAs. Maybe you're not providing what Amazon's asking you for. Like that's something that happens.
They're also kind of vague about that stuff sometimes.
And they're also not very good about the back and forth because if you challenge them on something, they don't know how to respond.
They don't. It's
not like a ping pong. It's like an email. It's like you just go to some portal where you don't know where to go and
exactly.
you never know what was wrong.
And this is kind of like goes into why they made these changes, right? Because like I had a back and forth. I mean, I had very few of these requests ever come through. I sent in my COA, they came back, and it's a team in India that has been told that they have to go over these documents, and they don't really know what they're looking for. And I sent in my COA, and they came back, they said, no, this is not an ISO accredited lab. I respond, yes, it is. They said, okay. And that was it. Like, that's the verification process.
Okay.
All right. Well, if you say so. And but why did you even challenge me on it in the first place? Like, are you doing your homework or are you just kind of making it up as you go along? The reality is Amazon is not equipped to be doing this. Amazon is a behemoth. I at one point in time worked with a brand that was in the pharmaceutical space. So they sold a product that was for treating eye styes. So, it's like blepharitis, over-the-counter product, registered, medical device. So it's FDA 510K is like their permission from the FDA to make antimicrobial claims. Right, it's a very regulation heavy space, and as part of like that, they were going through some issues, and I met the head of policy at Amazon who handles any medical device policies, and I mean, this man, like he said, somebody once tried to sell an MRI machine on Amazon. His job was to go out and learn the particulars of federal law as it pertains to selling MRI machines. Like, can you sell an MRI machine on Amazon? Is that legal? What are the rules? Like, what does Amazon have to ask for? But think about like how many particular categories Amazon is in. They're in electronics, they're in toys, they're selling baby formula. Like, they're everywhere. How much expertise can Amazon be expected to have internally? Now,
apparently more than the United States government.
Well, that's what the government would like, right? The government wants them to have more experience than the United States government.
Yeah.
Amazon, they made this change, so now You have a product. Amazon comes to you and asks for your requirements. They're not asking you to send documentation to Amazon. Amazon's basically acknowledging we aren't experts in this. They went, they did their homework. They did. They worked with the NSF. They spoke to these labs. They spent time on this. My guess is they probably started in December. So they spent about at least 4 months. But I think they spent a lot of resources trying to understand the space, and I give them a lot of credit for that. And they spoke to the NSF, they spoke to UL, they spoke to Eurofins, and they realized that first of all, there are long lead times on labs. There's limited capacity. If every single supplement on Amazon suddenly got told you have to go get a COA right now.
From one of 3 labs.
From one of 3 labs. So
you would see a massive exodus and just a huge drop off.
And who would even be able to get testing done, right? So it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So they basically said, we're going to identify our highest risk categories, which are the categories they've already flagged for needing testing for adulterants. And then we're going to just do this in phases. This is actually coming, it was actually really cool. Ben Kane from over at PricePlow was able to get Amazon on the phone for an interview. And I think this was huge. Like, he was able to open a dialogue with them to gain a deeper understanding of what actually is happening. Because, reading it from the outside, Amazon is a very cold machine. There's no people to interface with. There was a webinar, poorly communicated. A lot of people I had people reaching out to me on LinkedIn, like they wanted access to the webinar. They're like, how do I even get there? Right. So, and then they held the webinar during Supply Side East. Like, this was
perfect.
Yeah, perfect timing. Make sure everyone is able to see this, right? So it wasn't well handled in that respect, but they were able to establish a dialogue with Ben, and I think that's part of showing that they're doing their homework. They are trying to connect with the industry, and we did get some questions answered. So they know that these labs have limited capacity and long lead times, and so to make sure that they can keep things reasonable, they're doing things in phases. They have these 3 categories that they know are risky for them. And so they're going to select some of these products now. And then a little bit after that, they're going to select more. And they're going to keep phasing through it. So my impression.
I think that's what we're being told.
That's what we're being told. I'm seeing products that are not in those categories being flagged for testing. Sea moss gummies. Like, are we really calling sea moss gummies high risk for Amazon?
I think they're not meeting label claim. I would just love to see those motherfuckers get busted for all the shit they're doing on TikTok.
I think there's a lot of products that are like we know are not meeting label claim. Now Foods has done a great job documenting that.
Sure.
There's brands that should have their entire catalog taken down and testing required.
Yeah, we talk about them every podcast.
Yeah. It's I think they've made a lot of educated changes to the procedures that they have here. The issue.
What does this mean for most brand owners, though? And what do they need to do in order to write?
I have a controversial opinion here. We'll start with you should have had this testing done already. If you're a brand owner, all right. So pesticides, heavy metals, like all right, a lot of people do that in house. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, or not pesticides, microbes. All right, pesticides is a little. In addition, THC testing is required now.
What?
Yeah. So
on everything. Or at least those 3 categories.
My understanding so far is if you have botanicals in your product, you're testing for pesticides and THC. The THC testing comes from the fact that there's a lot of people selling hemp on Amazon and as a way of getting around CBD.
Right.
They want to be able to sell CBD. They're standardizing for phytocannabinoids as opposed to standardizing for CBD. Amazon's trying to cover their ass. Again, this is all about covering their ass. And so they're throwing THC in there. They're showing that they are doing their due diligence. And I get it from their perspective. That is a huge liability for Amazon. They do need to make sure that they're covering themselves. But at the same time, I think this does go a long way in consumer safety in the long term. In the short term, this isn't going to make a dent.
Well, what if they have to drop a whole bunch of brands off of their listings?
I don't think they care.
A whole bunch of ASINs, a whole many items, like thousands of them.
I don't think they care. We've seen a big
They're
one
making more money off of paper towels.
You're saying it's like a 0.01% of the grand scheme of things.
I'm saying that there was a Chinese seller that was caught committing review manipulation. They were doing like literally billions per year on Amazon, and Amazon shut them down without batting an eye. They didn't care. Amazon doesn't care. They will happily shut down a massive business if they are breaking the rules. Amazon is trying to do the right thing. It's just it's a monster. There's a lot to do here.
I think those 3 product categories are a monster.
They are a monster. Sports nutrition. I mean, so we're going off of marketing, right? Like, so if I have, protein is a nutrition facts panel, so maybe it doesn't entirely count here. But, if I have protein and I say something like, help work towards your weight loss goals, or like,
Builds muscle.
Build muscle, enhance recovery. Like, how many products did I just describe? Like
Almost all of them.
And that's sports nutrition.
Yep.
But that also like includes like adjacent things like collagen.
Yeah.
Collagen, yes. And collagen is a supplement facts panel.
Yeah.
That's not nutrition facts. It's not a complete source of nutrition. I think you're going to have a lot of brands that are going to get hit with a cold, hard slap of reality in that you have COAs that are by input, like by so many of these brands.
This episode is sponsored by Core Culture. Core Culture offers premium athletic wear crafted from high-quality, breathable fabrics. They move with you, keeping you cool and comfortable during even the most intense workouts. But you can also wear them casually at, the grocery store or to work even, the office. They're great Sunday wear. Core Culture goes beyond just performance. They're committed to earth-conscious manufacturing, minimizing environmental impact with every stitch. And also, just to note, they're 100% custom tailor made, meaning the actual designs themselves are IP that you can't get anywhere else. How would I know this? Because me, myself, TK, I'm one of the owners of Core Culture, and we spent several years developing this athletic brand. Not only do we have high-end athleisure apparel, but we also sell supplements as well. And we make all of our supplements at a NSF registered manufacturing facility. That basically means that that all the products that we make are legit. Our products are things like collagen. We have a mushroom immunity, which has some great mushroom beta-glucans. We have an electrolyte. We have phenomenal isolate proteins and even a vegan protein. One of my favorite products that we have is called Focus. It's a nootropic, super high quality stuff, premium packaging. You really can't get a better deal when it comes to supplements and athleisure. Core Culture's modern designs are fashionable as they are functional. Whether you're crushing a workout, hitting the pavement, or chilling at home, Core Culture is the perfect outfit or supplement to elevate your look and your well-being. So visit coreculture.com today and experience the difference. Core Culture, look good, feel good, do good. And use our code SUPWORKS for 20% off.
This is called the QBI, which means quantitated by input, which means I did some math, and that's what I put in the manufacturing record. And just by
I looked at my bomb,
measuring the right amounts and putting it into the blenders, that's quantitated by input.
Yeah, by input.
So it's not like actually what's measured. That's just like
we know Phil put 5 kgs of creatine in there, and then he put another
what we think is creatine,
10 kgs of glutamine.
What we think is glutamine.
But by input, Phil did his job. He wrote it down on this here piece of paper.
Whether or not Phil actually put that amount, and whether or not
Phil knows how to fucking write.
But exactly. So you have all these brands that are just relying on COAs that are by input, and it sucks, but you should have been testing it. Like, why are you? I mean, you ask the FDA, they tell you, we don't care that you have a manufacturer that tested it. You as the brand, you received products from a manufacturer. Did you test it when you got it from the manufacturer? If your answer is no, I trusted the manufacturer's results.
Oh, that's the wrong.
That's the wrong answer. I mean, could you imagine if you had a serious adverse reaction and the FDA came knocking and that's your answer? Well,
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
There's so many of those brands.
Look, there's a lot of brands in here that we work with. Not all of them are NSF. Not all of them are testing their products. They're owner-operator companies that are, for the most part, trying to pay their bills, pay their staff. Their margins are already slim. They're going to manufacturers that are like, yeah, we'll run that for you. If you want to test it, it costs this much. If you don't want it tested, you don't have to pay for it. And a lot of people opt for that second one. A lot.
The
vast majority of the...
Little did they know that they're required to, by law, verify that quantitated by input C of A.
Exactly. This is the cost of doing business. You don't have to be NSF certified, but you have a responsibility to the consumer to be testing your product. I'm
going to play devil's advocate again.
Hit me.
The consumer does not care. The consumer does not ask this question.
There's two different things. Does the consumer
It is
know
the
to
law,
ask?
and everyone should be doing it. And I think that this does provide like a nice barrier to entry in the marketplace that probably should need to exist. But one of the controversial parts about like this LinkedIn post that Mark had made about what's going on with Amazon and everything, a guy from Podium came in and said, Podium 2.0 is going to be sold exclusively on the dark web 2.0.
Was that their new CMO guy?
Yeah.
Oh, he's funny.
Oh, he's great. And a huge light bulb just went off in my head when he wrote that down. And I'm just like, oh my God. All of these people are going to need some place to sell their products because they either can't afford it or won't afford it for Amazon.
Let's look at cannabis, for example.
Okay.
There is a legal cannabis market in some states, and there's an illicit cannabis market.
Yeah.
The illicit cannabis market overtakes the legal market like 9 to 1.
Really? In the states that have it legal?
Yes.
Yeah.
9 to 1.
It's way better, way easier to go knock on your buddy's door who lives in the apartment next to you and buy a bag for $30 than to drive all the way down to this place, give them your ID and spend $70 for a little pouchy.
Okay.
And in many cases, in the cannabis market at least, there's like a seed to sell control.
Yes.
These same farms have other farms where some of it is sequestered, kind of like a manufacturer would. You know, this stuff is being looked at by the government. This is what we need documentation for. So this is going to go to this marketplace. But what do we do with all this other stuff that we have that we know
waste
that
product?
that goes to the illicit market? And then let's include the fact that packaging is the same either way.
Yeah.
You can go and buy a little box and design it and put some numbers on it and say, yeah, it's CA certified number 104365434332L. No one else is going to go type that shit in. You just made up some fucking numbers. I just did. And you put that on the side of your box.
And it's probably copy pasted from what is on the actual legal market.
Very, very probable. Okay, well, homeboy who wants to create his own little side gig business who lives in the apartment next door to you could just as well go make all of his little boxes and put his little cartridges in there, and he could be selling it just as if it was a consumer good. It looks like one. It tastes like one. It's probably coming from the same place, but for some reason, it's half the price
Yeah.
because you're not having to pay any of the legal fees. That's exactly what the supplement industry does now. What makes you think, okay, let's go back up. Let's go to the consumer because we're talking about everything except the end consumer.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So
They don't care.
I don't agree.
They don't care. No, they don't.
Let me ask you this.
They don't.
You
They
hit the
care
nail.
about prime delivery.
You hit the nail on the head, though.
They care about it being there in 2 days. They care about the notion that the product is working for them as to how it's being marketed.
Yeah.
Not so much whether they do not think about, is this adulterated? They do not think about, is this meeting some sort of certification standard? They're not really, most of them aren't looking under to see if it's expired or not. There are so many things that we look at those small details because we live in it every day that the consumer doesn't really care about.
Is it that they don't care or that they don't know to ask the question?
That too.
If I go to the consumer, right, you hit the nail on the head earlier. You said, I go to my buddy next door. If I show you a container full of powder and I said, every single type of powder in this container came from China, would you want it tested before you consume it?
You still drink Coca-Cola, don't you?
But do you, as a consumer, assume that it's safe to drink because it's on the open market?
Yes.
Exactly. You're assuming that the right thing is being done. You're not asking the question because, well, how would they be able to sell it if they aren't doing the right thing? People are trusting that Amazon is selling them a product that's safe. Mm-hmm. They're assuming that the right thing is being done. So if I'm Joe Schmo, I'm mixing powder in my bathtub and I'm quantitating it by input over here, and that's my COA. I bottle it. I'm wearing shorts. I got my chest hair hanging over the bathtub, and I'm just scooping powder up and throwing it into tubs, and I'm mixing it in my my Vitamix in my kitchen counter, right?
Seen it on TikTok,
right? Mm-hmm. And now I go and sell this, and you get sick, and if you find out how I manufacture it, you'd be disgusted. Like, you shouldn't be able to sell that.
I feel that could be true with pretty much anything anyone consumes anyways.
Absolutely. Because
From pork to chicken to eggs to milk.
Oh, especially the meat industry. That's a whole other can of worms.
well, that's the point that I'm getting at is most consumers don't care. If they don't get sick, then it doesn't matter.
They don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Yes, if
they don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Unless there is a negative response, which there is more people who consume these things without a negative response than the ones that they might not have a positive one, but as long as they don't have a negative one, it really doesn't matter. There's not enough adverse reactions where enough people are dying or getting really, really, really sick for that to be a catastrophic problem in the consumer market.
And that's why the FDA doesn't have the resources to enforce the rules, because nobody's getting hurt.
Well, if I'm just going to play devil's
Tell
advocate
that
again,
to the state of New York and all those kids with eating
what
disorders.
does that say
Oh
about
my
things
God,
like,
don't get
I
me
don't know,
started.
like vaccines and a lot of other things that maybe might not have been manufactured in a proper way, but we don't really fucking know. You know what I mean? There's just like so many things that we consume, that we continue to buy, that we trust anyways, that most people will just knowingly go and do it. And irregardless of whether it's right or wrong, manufacture wrong, they're doing the right way or they're doing the wrong way. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And if somebody is not making money off of it, it is no longer viable. And that is no longer viable. And then it's no longer a marketplace, and then it nets no one anything.
I think that.
So what's the point of arguing with that?
I think at the end of the day, Amazon is always going to be a persistent force, and the government can and will and has applied pressure to them to make sure that they are not distributing adulterated substances.
What happens if we get a new president in with a new cabinet and just a whole new guard, and they say, you know what? We're just going to stop giving a shit about 3-letter agencies.
They're going to be assassinated.
I mean, yeah. I mean, for more than one reason.
So, like, what is the real issue here? Is it the 3-letter agency, or is it the safety of the product? Or is it just the liability?
It is a desperate 3-letter agency that does not have the resources to do its job. So unfortunately, instead of enforcing the laws that currently exist, they're going to try to use the economic system, the corporate way of enforcing these things by making these large multinational corporations take the laws that are on the books and institute those as policy. But you don't see that evenly across the board. GNC does this kind of to some degree because they had pressure from the DOJ on them after a lot of their products didn't meet label claim. And now Amazon's got this pressure on them too. And I think that because Amazon has taken over as like a larger specialty retailer than the largest specialty retailers in the United States, they're subject to even more scrutiny than, say, GNC or Vitamin Shop.
I definitely see the level of liability is enormous. All right, I'm going to go deeper down the wormhole. Okay, what you just said earlier that most of these ingredients and things come way of China, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, who's controlling that?
Who's controlling that? The supplement companies who are buying it.
And what did I just say earlier about dollars and cents and consumers not caring?
It's true. I mean, like, think about it. It's like the same reason why these ingredients are being
There's
made in
no
China.
FDA regulating what China's doing.
Not
on the
necessarily
ingredient.
true. There are some cases where there are manufacturers that are overseas that have FDA registrations.
This
They
is
have
true.
United States FDA registrations for overseas manufacturers.
Well, that's really cool.
And NSF certification for
Well,
overseas.
NSF's global, so that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool to know.
Yeah.
There are some people like that actually do try to do the right thing.
Okay, so what were you saying about quantitative C of A's?
So like quantitative by input.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Mark was touching on is as you bring in the raw materials, you have to test them against their C of A. Usually that's for identity and potency.
But don't most manufacturers just use the C of A that's provided by the ingredient supplier?
Yeah, but the burden on you as not only an importer, but as a company that is a manufacturer, is that all raw materials that come into your facility, you have to verify that they are what they say that they are.
How many people do you think actually do that?
When it comes to more manufacturers than you'd probably think.
Yes.
That manufacturers are under the gun a lot more than brands.
Yeah.
Much more heavily than brands.
No, the FDA is auditing manufacturing facilities. It's not if they are. I've seen them.
They are, but you got to come from my perspective where I work with a lot of people who work with a lot of manufacturers, and I know you're starting to work with more now.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of those guys that don't do that.
Yeah, they don't do that up until a moment.
Or they just don't fucking talk about it. Let's just be honest. They just don't talk about it.
Regulations are weird.
And no one's kicking in their doors.
Well, that's not true either.
If you get to a certain size, but that's 1% of the other 99.
So when I worked at NutriBio, there was a story that Mark Glazer told where the FDA criminal division came in because there was a supplier that was providing botanical ingredients, if I remember correctly, and they were not matching identity. NutraBio was doing their due diligence. And
well, they have an
excellent
reputation for doing that.
And yes, and it's well deserved. And
one thing I can say about NutraBio is, we work on their labels. And on all of their labels, there's a little thing you can scan that says checkmysupps.com.
Absolutely.
And every single
it's been there
lot,
a very long time.
Yeah, and every single lot is indexed into.
Yes. And that's
that
only
is really freaking cool.
And I haven't looked at one of those in a long time. If memory recalls, they have finished product testing there. That's not even all of the testing. Because there is still, like this, in this case, it was a botanical supplier where they were sending out mismatched botanicals relative to what they claimed it was. FDA came in and they basically said, like, we know you've done business with them. And I don't remember the specific exchange, but it's something to the effect where NutraBio ended up providing materials to the FDA that were used to build a criminal case against that materials distributor. And this is actually something I heard when I was at Supply Side West. There's like 100-something enforcement actions in a given year that the FDA does execute, where this is FDA criminal division. FDA has guns. I blew my mind. And they walk in and they are executing enforcement actions with the support of the Department of Justice, and they are kicking in doors, and they are arresting people, and they are seizing product.
I guess they're just not kicking in enough doors. I guess that's
they're not making it public enough.
They don't necessarily need to go kicking everyone's doors in, because there are plenty of people that are doing things by the book where they just need to stop in, do a quick audit, and be like, you know what, you guys are doing all right, and move on to the next one, and at least get some like wins under their belt, at least in the eyes of whatever overlords they have, and be like, we went and checked out, 10 different manufacturers, 6 of them were doing all right.
Yeah, but I think if you dig enough into any of these manufacturers, you'll find things.
You got to know where the devil and the details are. Yeah. I mean, like, know how. I mean, I frequently fantasize like if I worked for the FDA.
Well, that would be.
God. I'd be like, I know,
a revolution
for everyone.
I'd be like a bloodhound. I'd be like, I'm gonna fucking find it. I'm gonna sniff it out. I know every single trick you could possibly do.
So this kind of, again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not saying I have an opinion whether or not. I agree with what y'all are saying. I'm asking the questions.
Of course,
they're extremely relevant.
So, what happened? Like, if all this stuff goes through and you had very, very scrutinous policing and execution, and this actually went through by the book on everything, how many products would actually drop?
A lot.
Off Amazon, off of the shelves at
more than
Walmart, at the shelves at Target, at the shelves of
more than half.
I find that
almost all these independent shops, they would drop out. So then you would have to ask yourself, like, economically, is that a good thing?
Of course.
Because that's a good thing.
All right, let me ask you this.
I think for public safety, it might be a good thing.
Well, here's the question.
Public health.
How many people do you know who are just getting sick over supplements all the time?
It's not that they're getting sick. It's just that.
So then what's the real safety risk?
Is people that are using ingredients that are not considered to be dietary ingredients. That they're introduced.
Considered dietary ingredients is all also a 3-letter word, a 3-letter division. Like, they're the one defining that, not you or me.
Right, but as far as the current law is stating on dietary ingredients, there are some people that are trying to pass research chemicals or things that are just blatantly not dietary ingredients, in some cases pharmaceuticals, into dietary supplements, whether they're declared or whether they're not.
Well, we've already talked about this with Ben, though, but like there's some things they declare that are pharmaceutical ingredients that probably shouldn't be, and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah, but that's his own conversation. I mean, did you see most recently there was a case in Japan? This is very recent, where, and you're probably aware of this, Joey, where there was somebody, I think people die or they were seriously hurt by supplements that were sold in Japan, and like it was a major public safety risk.
There was one on Amazon. It was this. It was some Spanish tecajote root or something.
Oh,
like
there was that as well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't tecajote root. It was instead like some sort of yellow oleander, which was highly toxic.
Yes.
None of those companies got warning letters.
Wow.
None.
Well, what about Craze? You Craze pre-workout. You tell me you remember that.
Well, it's weird. Like, you can literally put a poison in a product because you didn't do your testing on raw materials coming in, and the FDA puts out this blast recall notice. None of the companies get warning letters. No enforcement action on a company that literally put fucking poison in a product. And that just more or less gets swept under the rug. Yeah. Whereas, you have Driven Sports, it puts,
Methamphetamine.
It was ethylamphetamine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a horse of a different color horse, nonetheless, though.
Yeah, where was there was eventually was a warning letter after every single store pulled the product off the shelves, but it literally required. There were Tiger Fitness, I remember at the time, was sending products out for testing to see if it was containing adulterated substances, and then other people started sending it out for testing, and bodybuilders were failing drug tests. And
the interesting thing about that is usually when you're doing a test for adulterants, that was such an exotic form of amphetamine. I don't believe anyone knew to look for that.
That's fair, but at the same time, like it just goes to show that these things do happen, and it's like we have safety regulations for airplanes. They're heavily enforced, right? Even this morning, I was on a plane, and there was they said an instrument out of tolerance, right? And they had to swap it out with another one. And we had to wait on the tarmac for like 45 minutes. Okay, whatever. How many people die because an instrument is out of tolerance in an aircraft? Well, at some point, somebody did die, right? Because we know these rules are written in blood.
Yeah. Planes also have like triple redundancy.
They do have triple redundancy.
And also, you're 35,000 feet in the air.
But what triple redundancy, what are the odds of me being injured because an instrument is not working quite as expected, right? But the reality is we wouldn't leave the ground until that instrument was repaired. It's no different here. Like, yes, I understand that there's not many people dying because for the most part, we are doing the right thing as an industry. But there is, at the end of the day, we have these rules. They do need to be enforced, and we do need to make sure people are following them, because when we stop following them, when we get lazy, we may not have someone get hurt tomorrow, but if the entire industry starts accepting this lax attitude, eventually somebody is going to die.
That's very valid. As a nation, at least from my perspective, a lot of international customers come here for American-made supplements for two reasons. One, they're made better because we do a better job manufacturing. And two, we have a little bit more lax laws on some of those things. And so the stuff that goes in them sometimes are better than the things that they can get at home and at the doses that are better.
We are considered to be the most innovative country in the world when it comes to dietary supplements.
Yeah, but those are two very driving factors. And then there's just innovation. But you telling me that China and Japan aren't more innovative? I mean, they can make some pretty badass stuff. They just don't.
They can, but their laws are more strict.
Right.
Yeah. So they are unable to innovate in the same ways that we can.
The question that I'm asking mostly is like, are you willing to sacrifice commerce for quote unquote doing the right thing when the right thing is in many ways subjective based off of your level of trust in a certain government, which I think everyone sitting at this table has a little bit of scrutiny on our current government. I think everyone listening to this podcast is probably questioning a lot of things on our current government. So your level of trust...
They could certainly do a better job of doing their job.
Right. So we're trusting an agency to make the right decision to police this industry in which it provides commerce for us in order to provide for ourselves, which now is pretty much as hard as it's ever been. And we're asking them to make it even harder because of safety.
Should car manufacturers be allowed to stop putting airbags in cars so that they can make cars more affordable?
I don't know. Some people rip that shit out because they want to make it lower to the ground. People do shit like that.
But that's kind of like the point. Like we want to sacrifice safety measures to lower the bar for entry into the industry, and that is when people start to get hurt, right? Yeah. You can go to India right now and you can get a car that has a 1-star crash safety rating.
Yeah, you can get tea off the fucking side of the road that'll give you diarrhea for a month.
Absolutely. We can invent a whole new kind of COVID.
I'm sure Joey's got a supplement that'll do that.
it's again.
The only reason why I'm asking this question is all three of us, and I'm glad we asked these questions, is because we all aim to gain by more commerce in this industry. You do, I do, Joey does.
We do.
And most of the people listening to this podcast do, because they're entrepreneurs, they own manufacturing facilities, they work for flavor companies, they all have something to do with this industry in some way or another. And they all want to know, how do they continue on doing the right thing while still making enough money to provide for whatever their ambitions are? And we're constantly telling them, it's getting harder, it's getting harder, it's getting harder. Things are getting more expensive. Margins are getting slimmer. People are spending less money. How do you find a nice medium where it basically you stop this bleeding and you say, well, we're going to make a path to a way in which you can win without essentially creating so many laws where there's roadblocks in which you can have a path to profitability. This is the problem with the cannabis market in California.
It's kind of designed that way to keep people from getting into this market who cannot afford.
Yeah, it is a low barrier of entry.
It is.
So maybe this is a thing that
so long
increases
as
the
so
barrier
long
of
as
entry.
the law that is currently in effect is not enforced.
Yeah.
I'm going to draw a parallel here.
Yeah.
So another space. A client I work with in the cosmetic space. They sell a product. It's an original product. It's an original idea. They were the only ones in their space. They created the category. So they are now dealing with competitors who are entering the space at a fraction of the price. Okay, so these guys, there's no testing. There's no verification of what they're selling. Most likely, these products do not contain what they claim.
Cosmetics are way wilder.
Okay, they are way wilder. But my point here is more, if we are raising the bar in terms of safety, in terms of expectations, you cannot enter the market. It becomes a race to the bottom. You know, how low can I make my price?
Very true.
So if a company in China, you know, let's say screw it. We don't need any testing requirements. Okay, so some company in China could sell you a tub of flour. There's no safety risk here. They can call it whatever they want to call it, sprinkle a bunch of caffeine in there and some B vitamins and call it a day. It costs them absolutely nothing. Consumers, they don't know any better. They love it. They feel it. You know, maybe you throw some niacin in there, some beta alanine, you get some tingles, you feel it, you get some energy. And like, this is a great pre-workout. You know, I could think of actual products that have been sold like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and they can claim whatever they want on the label.
In the independent world, it's definitely that. It's a race to the bottom.
Exactly.
The DMAAs, the DMAEs, the DMHAs.
You can't have a race to the bottom if you're suddenly enforcing all these testing requirements, because you actually have to have in that product what you claim to have. So yeah, no,
I definitely think it in the case of Amazon and any sort of mass platform like that, where you can get something like that, it makes a lot of sense, especially when you only have so much real estate to divulge information from, like a listing.
Yes.
But if you go to any mom and pop independently owned store here today, you're going to find a bunch of illegal shit in there. And if you went and told that guy, I need to pull all this stuff off your shelf, he says, well, then no one's going to walk into my door. He says, this is the stuff that people buy.
That's his competitive advantage over prime delivery.
That's it.
It's the stuff that he sells.
Yeah.
If he wants that advantage over prime delivery, it's going to have to be based on other things.
Well, they're taking that away from them too, is what I'm saying. So it's making it harder for them. And I guess it's evening the playing field where all consumers are having to get stuff, but they're already at the point where they you know, like people miss the days of 1-3, you know, like they, you know what I mean? Like you're getting this consumer base that's constantly feeling like I'm paying more to get less now.
I think that if you're a brick, right, this is becoming a different subject, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking about a brick and mortar competing with Amazon, there are brick and mortars today that do compete with Amazon.
Yeah.
And they do that through touch and feel. Look at Sephora, look at Best Buy. I don't go and buy a TV off the internet without having seen it first. I go into Best Buy. And while I'm there, I probably buy the TV because it's right there. You
That's
know,
true.
I can see it. Sephora does extremely well. Why? Because girls can go into the store, they can try the products right then and there. They have someone that they can talk to
It's
about the
certain
products.
salesmanship that's
It's an experience.
Yeah.
Like if I go into a supplement store, I should have someone there who's educated on the products, who's going to provide me with a positive experience, who can explain to me what I need to buy, what I don't need to buy. And then, you know, maybe it's a matter of sampling, you know, or something to that effect. But, you know, I think brick and mortar has an opportunity to compete. If they are looking to innovate, there's opportunity to innovate. And if they aren't, you know, that's, again, it comes down to the cost of doing business.
Their way of innovating this day is getting their stuff online. And it's not maybe not Amazon, but like TikTok and things like that. And then also like having the variety of things that people want that they probably can't get other places. So I understand all that.
Yeah.
I guess with in the case in point with Amazon is me personally would hate to see everything just drop off the shelf all at once for some reasons that consumers probably don't truly understand.
If things are dropping off the shelf of Amazon, right? Now, you said something earlier before. You said, you know, it's getting harder. I disagree. Amazon as an opportunity size is growing. So 2024, and this is something that I had called out back in like Q3 of last year. Is this year we were going to see a drop in purchases of protein powder on Amazon. This is a side effect of COVID. So that aside, we are today where we should have been if COVID never happened. So there was a bubble, that bubble burst. Protein powder was one of those victims. But overall, right, we see creatine growing. We see all these spaces growing. We see more sales of more supplements on Amazon than ever before. There's more people buying things on Amazon than ever before. There's more opportunity. If that opportunity size is worth it to your business, you will do the right thing. You will go get testing. You will get your product tested, and you will make sure that your product meets Amazon requirements. This is something that's already legally required of you. If you haven't been doing it, you've been breaking the law. So now you're doing something that is in adherence to the law. At the end of the day, and I'm going to take a line here from Ben Kane, because this is something I really agree with. We voted people into Congress. They went ahead, they made these laws. They made 21 CFR Part 111. They made DSHEA. These are the rules that we all agreed to. These are the rules that we should be following. So now a few people have been choosing to skirt those laws, not follow them, not test their products so that they can win the race to the bottom and sell products on Amazon. And those products now, as we have seen demonstrated time and time again, do not claim what they claim to have been putting in the products. So consumers
this rug pull's needed to happen since 1994.
It has.
Yeah.
Consumers are being lied to. They're being taken advantage of because the average Joe doesn't have the resources to go and send your product out for a $7,000 lab test. Yeah. But you know who does have those resources? The person making the product. And they should be held accountable. You don't get to skip around the laws that everyone else is following just so you can compete too. You don't get to sell a car without airbags when you're required to have airbags, right? The cost of manufacturing a car today has gone up. You have to have backup cameras, right? You have to have all these sensors around your car. You have to have all these safety features. They're very expensive. It's more difficult now than ever for safety reasons. These rules, the difference in supplements is these rules aren't new. They've been around forever. They just haven't been well enforced.
Yeah.
Now we're enforcing them.
Yeah.
This has always been the cost of doing business. And so now sellers are being told, you put your money where your mouth is. Let's see that you actually have what you say you have on your label. If you don't have in your product what you claim on your label, then you never were able to afford to compete in the supplement space to begin with. And so now we have brands out here who are trying to do the right thing. They're trying to sell products that are good, that are high quality. They are getting their products tested, and they deserve a chance to stand out above the rest.
So you have to be rich in order to enter the supplement industry now.
You have to be rich to enter the car industry too. You have to be rich to enter a lot of industries. Yeah. And unfortunately, it is what it is. There are certain things that if you can't meet the barrier to entry, you can't meet the barrier to entry. It's unfortunate. There's a lot of things I can't afford to do. I'm not out there whining and crying about it, right? At the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah.
If this is something you aspire to do, work hard towards it.
Some people would say that's un-American.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Let's take a break and come back in 5.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Lost and Found Energy Drink. Lost and Found has just blown up in the marketplace as of recently. They're also a big international brand. Well, we helped them design their cans, which was a great experience for us here at Nutrimedia. But really, what I want to talk about mostly about these guys, one is that they're just absolutely delicious. It's at 150 milligrams, which is like the perfect amount for me, but all the flavors absolutely kill. If you haven't tried these yet, you absolutely need to. They're starting to pop up everywhere. You can get them at Walmart. I think we got these new cans at Walmart. You can also buy them at Vitamin Shop. They're absolutely delicious. They're easy drinkers. They come in multiple flavors. The branding's awesome, and the people that are behind it are absolutely incredible. Some of my favorite people on the planet. One of our absolute OG brands when we started Nutrimedia. It's been with us since early days of Nutrimedia. Can't say enough about these people behind this brand and this product. They sponsor this podcast. They give us these drinks for every single one. And I think you guys would really enjoy trying them if you haven't yet. And if you have, just go double down, go buy some more, go tag them at Found Energy. If you can, go and get you some Lost and Found. And thank you guys over at LNF. Fast and loud.
So we're back, and God, that was probably the most riveting, debating first hour that we've probably had on this show.
I love that.
We jumped right into it without really even talking about Mark at all.
Yeah, we just pulled our guns and knives out and went at it. But all right, so Mark, how the fuck did you get here?
How did I get here?
From New Jersey, right?
From New Jersey.
on a United airplane.
I flapped my arms
For
really
those of you
hard.
who don't know, there are a couple of hotbeds for supplements in the United States: California, Utah, Texas, Florida. New Jersey and the greater Northeast area. The New York's included.
Yeah, Long Island's a lot of manufacturers.
New Jersey, home of Universal, NutriBio, and several others. MHP.
And Newark
Gaspari.
Airport.
Apollon.
Newark Airport.
Newark. Oh, God. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Fun airport.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
I got a Newark story.
I have several. I went to school there.
In Newark?
Yeah, I
or
went to
Newark Airport.
NJIT.
Oh, okay.
I lived there for a little bit.
You know, all the people I've met from Jersey, they get a bad rap, but I like everyone that I met from Jersey.
I feel like it's a Texas of the Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not as far as drivers go, based on what I've seen.
Yeah. Well, we are nicer here. But,
Yeah. Yes.
But in general, like you'd be like, oh, no, they're all assholes there. No, all the people that I've met from Jersey, New Jersey, I like. I'm like, those are good people, especially ones that are not from like the city part, like the more rural part, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting to know that there is a more rural part. You think of Texas, you just think everything here is so rural, except the big cities, and it's kind of the exact opposite. Where it's like when people think of Texas, if you're not thinking of either the big cities, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, it's huge, and it's just a bunch of rural people. You know, like farm owners, landowners, ranchers, oil people, salt of the earth people. When you think of the Northeast, you think it's just everyone's living on top of each other, and it's not. They don't have farmland and thing up there, but they do. They have very much farmland.
South Jersey, it's kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Like if you like Central Jersey is like suburbs, right? Like stereotypical white picket fences. You go South Jersey, and suddenly it's like everything's like really spread out. Like things are calmer, especially when you get along the Pennsylvania border. Things are really calm over there. People are friendlier. It's a very different attitude.
Yeah.
And they're only driving like an hour and a half away.
Well, that's crazy to me because we drive like 3 hours to get to like one city or another. And it's still like, oh, there's still more like 6 more you can drive that way and still be in Texas. Yeah. Okay. So to your story, how did you get to Cograph? And we'll get into Cograph in a little bit.
How'd you get in the industry?
Yeah. How'd I get? His name has come up several times. He does deserve a lot of credit because he did pull me into the industry. Is Ben Kane?
Yeah.
I was working as
Our first guest.
At first, yeah. Ben is a childhood friend of mine. Known him since I was 11 years old. So I've had a front row seat to his entire comeuppance, we'll call it. But I started out as a lifeguard at the Jewish Community Center. Working, it's just a summer job. I get a phone call one day. Ben's calling me. Hey, man, you want a job? Like, beats lifeguard. And what do you got? He's like, a customer service position at NutriBio just opened up. He's like, I'm moving out of customer service. I need someone to fill my shoes. I need them to fill my shoes quickly. I stepped in, got the job, got ramped up on customer service. I was there for maybe a week. I was I am a huge nerd, and a huge nerd for supplements at the time. So it wasn't really difficult. There was no learning curve for me. I came in, I hopped on the phones, I'm talking to customers, and they're throwing technical questions at me because NutriBio attracts, an educated consumer, right? Like if you know what you're looking for, if you know what quality looks like, you probably know NutriBio, you know their products. And, they had the commodity lines, right? So you have people who are like tinkering at home, biohackers and stuff like that. People that want I want this and this and this and this and this, and they're going to combine it and they're doing their own things at home. The mini Joey Savages of the world. So I stepped in and
shout out to NutriBio.
Yeah, no,
they're very trusted.
They are very trusted, and for a lot of good reasons. And so I was working customer service there, and made a bit of a splash. Just I came in with a lot of product knowledge. Got bored very quickly, but it was mostly because it came easy to me. I was doing things like I helped out with facility tours. I was helping out in terms of I learned so much in terms of compliance and manufacturing there that anybody can read medical journals, right? Wikipedia and the million of blogs out there about what's going on in supplements, but there's
doing it is a completely different thing.
Yes, and being in the and working under somebody who's been doing it longer than anybody else is a completely different thing.
Mark is a force to be reckoned with.
He is, and it was a move fast and break things environment. I remember my first week there. They started a campaign. They were launching a new flavor of their classic whey protein line every week, and they launched like 13 new flavors. It was absolute pandemonium, right? And it was like, that was like my introduction to the space. Like, we are moving quickly. We're pivoting fast. We're coming up with names and flavor ideas like 2 weeks before they're launching, right? We would go into a room, we talk about it. The labels are printing like 2 days later. It's being run on the day on lines a day after that. Like, it was just one thing after another. And I was there for, I want to say like a year and a half, 2 years almost, when Amazon came up. They had previously been on Amazon. It wasn't something they had the ability to dedicate resources to, or something to that effect. And I was seeking opportunities to move up. Customer service was fun. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the products, and that was great. But now I wanted to do more. And so Amazon came up, and I was pushing for it. So at first I was working customer service in Amazon, eventually Amazon full-time, and really running with it. This is still like in the days where, retail arbitrage was huge on Amazon. A lot of brands were still hemming and hawing over whether or not to even invest in the platform. A lot of people were only coming on to Amazon if they were getting a vendor relationship where they were selling to Amazon and didn't have to manage their own sales. Even at that point in time, you talk to people in the space and they would tell you like, most companies, they just get a customer service guy to run the Amazon channel.
It's like an afterthought.
Yeah, it's an afterthought. Nobody really cared. At that point in time, I'm trying to learn. I was very heavily on Reddit, made a lot of connections there. I was making connections with some of the largest retailers on Amazon. At the time, it was called eTails. They were the #1 seller on Amazon. They held their own conference. I made friends with many people over there. Learned a lot. They had went up to Spokane, Washington. Flew 8.5 hours to get there. I met a ton of people, shook a ton of hands, and they had some unique software solutions that at the time that were kind of like newer. Ad management was like, we can automate your bids by the minute based on metrics, and these were all these new ideas that hadn't really been tested yet. And I was just going with it. I was learning as quickly as I could. I walked away from that event in Spokane, Washington, with only like 7 months of Amazon experience under my belt at that point. And they had like these breakout sessions where you could talk to all their different teams that focused on different areas of Amazon. And I spoke to as many people as I could. And I walked away from every single department with the people basically having the impression where like, wow, this guy knows as much or more than we do. And like I was coming to them with problems I was having, and I ran through everything I tried, and they said, well, that's about it. You tried things that I didn't even think of. And I was like, all right, I was feeling pretty good about it at that point. Like, all right, haven't been at this very long, but I felt good. I was making it a habit. I'd go onto the Amazon forums and I'd go onto Reddit and I'd pull up posts where people would be like, I have this issue. And I didn't know the answer, but I just took that and I said, okay, I don't know the solution, but I'm going to find it. And I would just take every single question, find the answer to their question, and then if that situation ever happened to me, I knew the answer. And I did that every single day. I came in the morning from 9 to 5. I was running our account and doing that in between my own tasks. During the break, I kind of spoke about this a little bit. I was at NJIT. I was studying computer science. I had a bit of programming experience under my belt at that point. I had been coding as a hobby all the way through my youth, doing it much more heavily in school. So I was able to apply a lot of that. I built out applications for automating our shipping. So I built out inventory analytics tools where I could download a report off of Amazon, put it into a tool. It would give me a file. I could upload that file to Amazon, and then my shipment was done. So it was like, we were managing a 300 SKU catalog, and I could just get shipments done in 2 seconds. We had inventory issues where things were going out of stock, right? We had like 300 different products I'm trying to manage. So I built a forecasting utility. And this is where I could really nerd out, and I'm going to lose a lot of viewers if I get too far into it. But I basically built out a whole machine learning application where I could do like serious deep analytics to forecast out 90 days of sales. and with like 98% accuracy. And so I had like a code base, like 3,000 lines of code long, that was just automating as many aspects of this job as I possibly could, while continually teaching myself just about how this platform worked and trying to stay ahead of every issue that could come up. So I felt pretty good. I got to a point where I felt like on my own I couldn't learn anymore. I had been doing the job for maybe 2.5 years at that point. Had enormous success with the NutriBio account. There's a lot of things that go into that, right? We had ads running. I learned a lot about advertising, but on there's a lot of ad products for Amazon. I was using the most basic ones, and I did a lot of things. I developed a lot of tricks to be able to manipulate Amazon's search algorithm. I learned a lot about how its inner workings functioned. I was able to reverse engineer a lot of it. I was very proud of a lot of the work that I did there. So built out these, all these listings across the board. We were ranking very aggressively. And at that point, an opportunity opened up at a company called Thrasio, where I think a lot of people have seen their name in the news recently, not for the right reasons. But at the time, it was a unicorn. It was the fastest company in U.S. history to reach a $1 billion valuation. It was arguably the fastest company in U.S. history to reach a $10 billion valuation. And that is where I went over to that org.
What do they do?
They are what we would call an Amazon aggregator. They were the first. It was their idea. Their whole premise was they have people who are experts at Amazon. They have creative teams. They have, everything from photographers, videographers, copywriters. They have a dedicated ads team, supply chain teams. They have manufacturing facilities. They bought manufacturing facilities in China. They bought engineering, design, development firms within the United States. The assets that they had were absolutely insane.
They built an infrastructure to launch, manage Amazon brands specifically for Amazon's platform.
Exactly. And so
buy and sell them.
They less sell, more buy. We acquired in my time, they went, and I was not there for a long period of time. I was there for a very short period of time, and we went from 100 to like 250 brands in their umbrella. They grew insanely fast. Now, there was a lot of issues with their business model. There was a lot of issues with just growing too fast for their own good. They were in ultra growth mode, and their growing pains killed them. But along the way, I came on for a ride and started to branch out.
You were like the agency model.
It was an agency model where you own the client. I had brands in my portfolio, but we didn't answer to anybody.
You own the brand.
We own the brand. We own the warehouse. We own the product. We own the supply chain. When we acquired a brand, we acquired everything. At that point in time, I was trying to leverage my experience.
Were you dealing with any supplement brands?
I was dealing with, at first it was home organizers and other things that were unrelated to my past experience. They kind of did a shuffling of brands, and suddenly I found myself known as the Matcha Baron.
The Matcha Baron.
The Matcha Baron. I had multiple brands that sold matcha tea, and some that extended into there's competing brands. They like functional teas, where it's like teas infused with functional ingredients,
like a sleepy time tea,
or
detox tea,
or inflammation, like with ashwagandha and stuff like that. Yes, exactly. And so I learned a lot about that space. It's like selling in the premium foods category. Like you learn little things like running a discount at 20% off is far more effective than running a discount at 50% off, because that bigger discount's associated with a cheaper product. And people that are pursuing a premium product see that something's wrong with it. I don't want to buy that. It's 50% off. What happened to it? And so you start realizing like there's a very different mentality. I came from a world where I never ran discounts. I relied on search engine optimization and advertising, and those were my tools. And suddenly I had a very different tool set. And there's things I liked about being there. A lot of things I didn't like about being there that didn't align with what I was going for. Namely, it was very corporate, and I like moving fast and breaking things. Mm-hmm. So I was there for 8 months. Saw the writing on the wall. They eventually, I left. I put my 2 weeks notice in. On my first day at Cograph, they did their first round of layoffs.
Wow.
Where my entire team, above and below me, everyone was gone. So I managed to avoid a very saturated job market,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like just too many people with my job title to compete with.
Yeah.
And that's where I landed at Cograph. So and that opportunity came entirely because of the networking I was doing at NutraBio. I was heavily involved on Reddit. I was making a ton of friends. I was answering people's questions, sometimes the same people over and over and over again, where we ended up just exchanging phone numbers. And I was talking to this guy. You know, he kept in touch with me. This guy's he's Cal. He owns a company called Nectar Hydration. They did really cool things over there. One man show.
Is this like the Mio thing where you?
It's a stick pack.
Oh, okay.
So he made these little stick packs, hydration powder. It was a one man show. It was really impressive what he did, and he's still doing. Continues to be a one man show, and he's gone up against behemoths in the space. Shout out to him because he was a mentor in a lot of ways, and he said, "Hey, I know this guy. He has an agency. You should go talk to him." And I think that was the understatement of the year, because I went and talked to Cograph. His friend was Chris Mo, founder, one of the two founders of Cograph, current CEO, and made the introduction. And I found myself talking to an agency that was working with massive brands with national distribution, national recognition. And that was, for me,
Certainly more than just a regular old Amazon brand.
right, exactly. It wasn't like a company with zero brand recognition, right? That's Thrasio. As much as product as they moved, they dealt with brands that had no brand recognition, made for Amazon, most brands not distributed anywhere but Amazon. Now we're talking. I'm trying to think. Justin's peanut butter, Rouse tomato sauce. Right, I'm working with one of the clients I worked with was the number one pharmaceutical product. I referenced them earlier. They dealt with like eye sanitation. Number one product in their space. You've never seen a product with a 50% conversion rate before. That huge. They didn't have to try very hard to move a lot of product. They were publicly traded, right? Like I was making reports and numbers that I was providing the brand were landing on public disclosures. It's a huge.
Yeah.
It was a different world. Now it's client facing. And I always found this really interesting because I went from working at a brand to working at an agency. And you frequently talk to people and they're at an agency, they want to leave and they want to go work at a brand. I don't know what drives that mentality. I don't know if it's simply the agencies where they've worked. Why I think it's better to go the other way is
Agency can be stressful because instead of having one boss, it's like you have 100.
it could be. If you have 100, then that says more about your agency than it does about working at agencies in general.
But in a way, like you have been the customer before.
I've always been like, I answered to me,
Yeah.
right? Like I was the final decision maker. That's a great thing at a brand, right? Like I did the artwork, I did listing images, A+ content, I wrote the copy, I ran the ads, I decided what metrics the ads were responsible, what I had to hit, what were my KPIs, right? I set all of that. That's not the case anymore, but that's okay because when you exist in a silo, you don't get a lot of that education, right? When you work with these brands that have national distribution, when you work with these huge companies that have financial discipline, you learn a lot and you learn a lot quickly. And that is what I love about being where I am right now versus being in a corporate environment where everything's very structured and regimented and you just have to tick these boxes and everything is okay. And, it's like everything's been built around you almost like it's like you can't break anything, right? Like I want to move fast. I want to break things. I want to learn by failing. And I want to do it quickly. Right, it's okay to fail as long as you fail fast and you fail forwards, and I like having that environment. And so where I find myself now, I think that's all really important because now I answer to somebody, but I answer to a P&L statement, right? Like we are building the P&L for the Amazon channel, so we understand a brand's entire unit economics. We're helping brands understand their unit economics where they come in. And, you get brands where they just say like, all right, well, what are your cost of goods? And they might have that. And they're like, okay, so far on Amazon, what have you been maintaining in terms of profit? I don't know. Well, okay, well, Do you know what your costs of distribution are? Or what are you paying to ship your products into Amazon? Well, I don't know. And you start digging in, you realize that there's very little they know about their own account.
Yeah.
They've been trusting it to people, whether they're working in their own company, whether it's an agency, whether it's a 3PL that happens to tack on Amazon services as an add-on. I've seen that more than a few times.
Plenty of times.
And it never goes well. I've never seen a 3PL do a good job running an Amazon account. Maybe it's just the ones that I've seen.
So what does Cograph do that's different, that makes you different from other agencies?
I think it's exactly that, financial discipline. Right, I think it's ingrained at a very low level. The fact that we are working to a PN, I think you go to an average agency, they're not building out a PNL.
They're just happy to take your money and list it on there and
absolutely
see how it goes.
I think like this is kind of.
Do you ever get people where you're just like, I don't think this is viable?
Yeah, there are companies where it isn't viable. Right, you can be too small. Like this kind of backs into that whole conversation of, the cost of testing, right? Like sometimes it's the cost of operating on Amazon. Mm-hmm. If you have, very little marketing dollars, if all your marketing dollars are in Amazon, you have no presence outside of Amazon, but you want to see, 100, 200, 300% growth month over month, I have bad news for you, right? I like it when we partner with companies that have an understanding of their finances, that they have an understanding of.
Most of the time, they have some sort of established distribution.
They have established.
They're not coming to you being like, okay, we do like $100,000 in sales over here, but we want to do $1 million over here. So
it happens. We also get people who are totally fresh, new brand launches, or we get companies that. And this is one of my favorite is when they come to us and they're like, well, we don't really think you can add any value, but what do you think you could do? Like convince us, like we're already big. Can you really grow us? And
I know a client in general that you just picked up recently that they probably were like, we're skeptical about what you can do.
And they had every right to be because, and that's when it was a great conversation.
Those people are really smart and know a shitload about Amazon.
They do.
And have you been able to add value to them?
46% growth year over year for that in particular individual that I believe you're referring to. And
they're happy about that.
I'm sure they are. And, but even that, like that conversation was amazing because I sat down with the owner of this company and he said, well, how much can you grow my account year over year? Like how much more can you do than what we're currently doing? And my answer was, I don't know. I said, I haven't seen your account. And that was it right there, right? Like that was a much longer and much more ingrained conversation, right? But that was a great conversation because his whole point was he talks to agencies and they say, well, I could grow your account an additional 20% year over year. How do you know? You don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's doing everything perfectly. Maybe he really has capped out. You don't know what he's doing internally. And you get these people who they shoot from the hip and they say, well, you're doing this, this, and this. I looked at your detail page. Like you have very little understanding of this person's business. There's a lot you can look at a detail page. Sure, there's obvious things you can call out for a lot of brands, but do you know what they've tested? Do you know what split tests they've run on their images, on their copy, on their title? Maybe there's a strategy underlying that you aren't aware of.
Is this something that you're constantly doing?
Constantly. Every part of every business we work with, there are things to evaluate, right? So like, sometimes it's a media only relationship where we're just running ads. It's totally acceptable, right? So I don't have eyes on operations. I don't have eyes on SEO or listing details, and that's totally fine. Ads in and of themselves can be an entire world that you can sink your entire life into. Sometimes there's one major brand. It was I'll say that Snoop Dogg was one of the major investors in this particular brand, and they came to us. I think this is a great story where they had operations issues. So this was a company where their 3PL was managing their Amazon account. And we came in and we said, okay, first of all, you're not profitable. That's news to them. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, well, we've built out your P&L. You're hemorrhaging cash. Let's understand why. All right, so your shipments, you're getting tacked on a 15 cent per unit fee because you're saying to Amazon that we're sending you mixed SKU pallets. You're not. Why are you doing that? Oh, well, we have no idea.
We just checked a box.
We just checked a box. The 3PL, we trusted the 3PL. So that right there, that's a 15 cent per unit savings. Okay, let's go from there. Why are you at the shipping operations have changed over time. At that point in time, it was LTL was always an obvious answer to save money. Amazon freight historically has been very cheap. There's some major changes going on right now. But at the time, so they were sending in everything UPS boxes. I said, why aren't we consolidating shipments down to larger sizes, sending it in on a pallet, saving money on shipping? Well, we don't know. Like, all right, well, you're shipping out of 3 different warehouses. Why? Well, we don't know. And so we just dissected every element from the moment they started creating the shipping plan to when inventory was hitting Amazon, how often they're shipping things in. And suddenly we found so much fat to trim that suddenly they're realizing a profit, right? And there was other issues there that ended up being their downfall, namely, like, if you can't stay in stock, then, profitability is the least of your concerns if you have nothing to sell, right? You're not profitable if you're not selling anything. I can't do anything for you in that situation.
How much would you encourage a brand that is like a fresh brand to spend on advertising and stuff with Amazon?
That depends on the space you're in, right?
Say it's dietary supplements. Say it's people like us. Say they've done all the right things with their testing and everything.
Everything's squared away. Be prepared for expensive advertising, pre-workout, and I
very competitive section.
Yeah, you're looking at like $6, $8, $10 cost per click, right? So how confident are you in your ability to convert customers? Are you willing to be a loss leader? Like, do you understand where you're going to rank? There are brands where they've been very successful off Amazon first. I think this is a very valid strategy for these competitive spaces. I think you'll find it referred to as red ocean, blue ocean. Red ocean referring to a crowded space, blue referring to a non-crowded space. Find your blue ocean, find your customer segment that's not addressed, speak to them, scale there, then break into a competitive space like Amazon. I've seen this done, executed very well, maybe not specifically referred to as this strategy in the moment, but it works very well for brands where they come to Amazon and they've created the space where
their own market segment.
Their own market segment. You get people, and Amazon shares this data with you. You can see how many people are searching for your branded terms, right? Are people searching for your brand name, right? Because that's always inexpensive.
Yeah.
I can capture that traffic all day long. Arguably, you don't need to spend any money on it, at least for some period of time.
But pre-workout, no dash.
Pre-workout, I know what you're referring to. I think that it's pointless to get concerned with pre-workout space, pre-workout with a dash, or pre-workout with no space, because the search is constantly changing. Amazon's search algorithm is always constantly evolving. For the longest time, it was based off of a single model. It's what we would call like a bag of words model, where your listing has a lot of words on it that describe your product. Amazon doesn't care what order they appear in or how many times a word is repeated. The customer searches a term. There's words in their search and whatever their search query is, do those words appear in your listing? And then from there, how many times did people search that term and then buy your product? How many purchases did your product get overall? And what's your rating? What's your seller rating? What's your return rate? What's your all sorts of things that go into it, and they determine your rankings. And you can try to manipulate that. These days, it's becoming more. Amazon's relying on generative, these ChatGPT type stuff.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was. Amazon was quick to deploy a lot of this, whether right, or wrong. Regardless, they're doing it. Amazon's current goal in search is, and this is something that is going to be. It's depending on who is searching. Not everyone is getting the same search algorithm at the same time. Sometimes Amazon's looking at your search and purchase history. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes now, with the introduction of these large language models, Amazon is looking at customer intent behind the purchase. So Amazon describes this as if you are a woman, you search for shoes for pregnant women, and you end up buying slip-on shoes. Now, anybody who you don't have to have those terms in your listing. Amazon knows that people who search these terms intend to buy these products, and so Amazon's looking at customer intention. Amazon's looking at product applications, and so now it becomes less of a game at who can gamify search. Your
specific keywords.
Exactly,
like that, yeah.
And so and then even outside of that, you get search terms where it's like Amazon can manipulate autocomplete, right? So you can have a search term on Google that's super popular. I'm trying to think of a good example here. Maybe your search term on Google is liver detox, right? And you see people search that on Google a lot. And then you go to Amazon and you find out that people are mostly converting off of liver detox and cleanse. Why is that? Well, because if you type liver detox into Amazon, suddenly it's auto-completing your search with and cleanse, and people click on that. And so now this becomes a whole different game, right? Because now you're not just trying to identify consumer trends, you're also trying to battle it out with Amazon's own autocomplete form. Is it making changes? Is it is it correcting your spellings or things of that nature? So yeah, there are certain details you should be tracking, certain things that aren't worth getting lost in. And if your advertising is set up right, if your listing is set up right, these little details don't entirely matter.
Amazon recently suggested that I buy certain types of an aesthetic of office equipment based on the types of office furniture that I had purchased previously.
Yeah, this is going to be more relevant, with these changes.
Well, I mean, like I bought like a bunch of stainless steel tables.
Yeah.
And then I searched for a stapler, and one of the first ones that came up was not a stainless steel stapler, but a chrome stapler. Mm-hmm. Because I had also gotten some chrome shelves.
Yes.
Where it's clever like that, where it'll start to anticipate exactly the kind of stuff that you're wanting.
And this is getting exacerbated by the use of voice to text and devices like Amazon Alexa, where people are going to search. You've always heard this referred to as long tail keywords. Sure. People using voice, voice commands to search. Like if you're doing voice to text and you're just speaking what you want. People are lazy; they don't want to type, but speaking is easy, so they can search a whole bunch of stuff. And so now you're getting more diversification across your search terms. You're getting search query volume spread out across more terms. There's a lot of things to monitor.
So what you're looking at up here on the screen are two different Amazon accounts. They're looking for the same keyword, a pre-workout with a space. Mm-hmm. And the number one response is the same thing, but number two and number three are different.
So yeah, you're right now looking at your top row, your sponsored results. So this is going to be...
These are different sponsored results.
Of course. So so there's a lot of factors here. What term am I targeting? How am I targeting this search term? What is my bid? And what are the budgets? So like in this case, we have Beyond Raw, Insane Labs, and Ghost at the top versus Beyond Raw, NutriCost, and who is that?
OxyShred,
EHP Labs. Yeah. So it's entirely possible. What if Ghost's campaign right there on the left, ran out of budget, and so now on the right, you now have somebody else with a lower bid who's coming in and they're winning. Right? This is an auction. This is a live auction when you see these ads. So there's a lot of complexities under the hood that again I could bore people to tears talking about the intricacies here. But point being, like this is an auction system. Beyond Raw here,
it's obviously bidding the most.
They are bidding the most.
Bidding to win in this case.
Maybe they've decided that they want to be the loss leader here. So they have this target. Maybe they're saying, you can even say like, I want to appear at top of search. I don't care how much I want to pay, but for the rest of the search placements, I care less. If you're in an incognito window, right? Like Amazon knows less about you, because if Amazon thinks that you are more likely to convert on a listing, there's an option for the advertiser to say, I'm willing to bid more.
But then when you go down to the non-sponsored content, the organic content, the list, it's completely different. Well, I see C4
Put
Sport.
pre-dash workout over there on that left-hand one and see the difference.
So C4 shows up top 3 on both of these.
Yeah, so C4 is the best seller here, right? So this is going to be this is always going to be top
34,000 views.
And now on both of these accounts, we have like new contenders that show up.
That's one of our new clients right there.
Old school.
Oh, cool.
Soon to be.
I'll also note that on the window on the right, you have your purchase tag there. You didn't have that on the left. So I'm not sure which is your income.
Mine is the right one. This is just like it's the neutral media where I'm not logged in.
Okay,
so one is logged into an account. The other one is
Exactly.
just like a arbitrary.
So Amazon's
Amazon
going to
search.
Exactly. So Amazon's going to list the best seller first. But if they see you've purchased something before, you might be looking for the same product. So Amazon's trying to return you the most relevant results here. So it's putting your purchase history
You
ahead
bought
of everything
Total
else.
War,
No.
Dordo?
No, that's why I'm
Somebody did.
confused.
It just said purchase again.
Maybe many years ago.
Okay. This is
Keep
kind of
going.
cool, just running sort of this test in live
Yeah.
like this. This is pretty cool.
And
to
and
learn.
this is it's even more stressful when you're doing it with a client live on a call.
Yeah. I like how Insane Labs is using a mock-up with an HDR. They're using real 3D. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of these guys use 3D. It's smart. Like that Optimum Nutrition listing there that's a 3D render. C4 is probably a 3D render.
The C4 looks like it was made in a Photoshop render.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe a
You can tell
Photoshop
by
render.
the shading. Yeah, you can tell. So is Optimum. So is so is. You can tell the ones that are using an HDR because look at the Psychotic on the Insane Labs, and you can look at the reflections on like the lid.
That could also be a photo.
Is that a
It's
ceiling
not.
fan?
That's an HDR.
Yeah, you sure?
Blair?
You're the expert here, so I don't know.
HDRI. Blair has to be right about everything always.
What is that
Blair is
reflection?
very much the expert.
Yeah.
That reflection could be I don't know. Blair, what do you
It
think?
looks like somebody's ceiling in their house.
Yes, but
does.
they call that an HDRI.
It's like a picture that they use as an environment. It's like
Your global reflection.
In 3D, you can build a 360
Mm-hmm.
environment in which is a reflective space. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have 3D. It's like when you actually take
But
things.
it's the same house on two different products.
That's because it's an HDRI.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
I did used to work with a 3D artist who did that.
Now that I just click on the psychotic, now it's the first one that shows up.
Again, because it's going to come down to relevance, right? So, like, yeah, Psychotic's now showing up first. You clicked on it, you engaged with it, and this is the thing. Like, this is your experience right now. If I go home and I sign in, Amazon could present to me a totally different experience. You could be seeing different features
I'm going
in
to see
search.
what they do for me.
Yeah, dude, on your phone, it's going to be completely different too, right? Like now you have, if you scroll down a little bit here, you're going to see, you have like the 900 plus, 200 plus bought in the last month, 10,000 plus bought in the last month, right? So this is relatively new, but when they started doing that, not everybody was seeing it at the same time. Amazon was testing it to see how it impacted engagement on the platform. Now it's rolled out to everybody.
Would you
Personally,
say
I love
that
it.
Amazon still uses sort of the mentality
I
of
still
like
got
the best
GNC
products
Beyond
rise to
Raw
the
as
top?
number one.
Best products? No. Most sold products generally,
Okay,
yes.
best meaning like by selling.
Amazon tries to break this up. So if you are a new product, you get what's called a honeymoon period, where you can get an artificial boost in search results because you're a new product and Amazon's trying to give you a chance to compete. I have my own opinions on that. I don't think it's very effective for what they're trying to do, but it's the thought that counts, I guess. The more successful you are, the less difficult it is to compete, right? As long as you're staying in stock. If you have 10,000 reviews and you sell 90,000 units a month, if you go out of stock for a week, it's really easy for you to bounce to the back to the top of the search results. Right? There's plenty of inferior products that do really well. So no, I don't think it's consumers vote
What
with
do you
their
think
dollars.
is a differentiator for these brands for like rising to the top, other than obviously just ad spend?
I mean, ad spend can be all it takes sometimes, but it's not.
You're saying people can buy their way to a top rank
Of course, you can buy your way to the top rank. Listen, like this is.
as a loss leader.
Yeah, you can be a loss leader. If you are inexpensive, right? You can. Customers are huge on comparison shopping. Amazon gives us the data to compare. Okay, if somebody clicked on your product, what is the median price for the category that customers clicked on? What is the median price for your catalog that customers clicked on? You can do the same thing for add to cart. You can do the same thing for conversions. You can see if customers are actively comparison shopping your product with others.
I just don't understand people who keep buying Insane Labs because the weird fucking clouds on everything.
Yeah, that freaks me out, especially like it's. But you know what? This can come down to price point. It could also come down to, is Insane Labs being really effective at just driving external traffic to Amazon? That works for a lot of people. What kind of branded search volume does Insane Labs have? That could be driving it as well.
And I feel like it's almost, you can detect who's bidding how much and who are the top players.
Well, they can reverse engineer all that.
and
with
I
software.
feel like those bids can be differentiated by pennies or fractions of pennies.
So yes. There's a lot of intricacies here and some things I'm not necessarily going to touch on here. It's at the end of the day, it's an auction system, right? The market will determine what they're willing to spend per click. There are some things like if you look over there, you're going to see featured from Amazon brands, right? That's a different call out instead of sponsored because it's a 365. It's
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So what rules is Amazon playing by here? Are they playing by the same rules as everyone else?
No.
Probably not. If I had to guess, I would say no. And then you have sports research up at the top, right? Maybe they're doing a good job building brand awareness with that placement, those sponsored brand placements.
But those are adjacent products to this category.
They are adjacent, and maybe it's working well enough, right? They have a creatine monohydrate in there. I wonder how much that's selling.
But it's adjacent to the search term, which was whey protein.
Which is whey protein, exactly. But it's there's when you, I'm trying to think how to best phrase this. If your listings here are in part determined by your listings sales, right? Not just your sales on this
Scroll down
keyword.
to where it's no longer sponsored.
It's sales on your keyword. It's also sales on your listing overall. Yeah, it's going to be the same in a lot of cases, right? Because now, but what's
In this
interesting?
case, we finally were able to sync up the same top 3 row.
But on the right, you'll notice that you have a purchase January 2021 tag. So it's matching, but it's also if you had purchased a different product in January 2021, you'd have a different product in that slot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this may just be coincidental in this particular case.
It's it's on the left. This is your blinded search results, but it also speaks to why Optimum Nutrition's creatine is at the top, right? Their capsules, especially. It also speaks to
give us
convenience.
another row. Give us another row.
Let's go to row 2 and see if we have matching.
We'll go past the sponsored
Search
brand
terms.
video. We'll go to more results, and look at that. You have bulk supplements.
We
You
have,
got Thorn.
2 out of 3 matching.
Things are going to change. Look, there's NutriBio. Their creatine's been blown up.
Ayo. That's the old label. Come on, guys. Let's switch it over to that new stuff.
Oh, we have a completely different world.
And again, this is like on the right side, we have purchase history, right? We have search history. We know what the account has converted on, what you haven't converted on, right? So Amazon isn't. We know that they are trying to evolve their search algorithm beyond. I mean, let's be honest. Where it was, especially when I started on Amazon, was basic, like 90s Google, like when Google just started out basic. There was very little intelligence behind it. It was very easy to game and manipulate.
You already fucked it because you put in that search before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to get to brass tacks here when it
Let's
comes
do
to
it.
the people who are listening to this. They want to know, okay, you obviously know what the hell you're talking about. How do you, Mark, Cartograph, or any other agency
People are going to
help
think that's
me?
his last name.
Mark Cograph, that's my full name.
Mark Bruggeman,
no.
who works at Cartograph. How do you help me in this case? Because obviously you've kind of explained this shit's dynamic is all get out, but yet you're not really giving us any secret sauce. Where is it? Where's the secret sauce?
Where's the secret sauce?
Where's the Thousand Island mixed with the ranch with a little bit of ketchup in it? I need to know.
This goes back to my conversation with the unnamed supplement company. I have to see your account, right? Everyone's different. If you are selling a product that is priced exorbitantly higher than your competition, the way you stand out is not the same, right? You don't. If you have an uncompetitive price point, you're not going to win in competitive search, right? It's like if we know Amazon is very much can be a race to the bottom. We know Amazon.
Earlier, you were telling me about a product that sells for like $94, and it's definitely not worth it. But you say they're very, very high volume.
Yeah, that was a very good example. And in their case, it's finding your consumer off of Amazon, right? Like if you compare it to these, entry level products in their space, no consumer is going to purchase theirs because there's no opportunity to communicate your brand messaging, your brand values, your value propositions, right? If you're in a search results page, what does a consumer see? We see your main listing image, we see your price point, reviews. Yeah, sure. But how are we really generating those reviews? If you are now removing it from there, right? And this is where an agency comes in. I alluded to this earlier,
You can help with reviews. Tremendously.
You can help with reviews. There are things you can do that are within Amazon policy that are legitimate that can be done.
These are services that Cartograph offers.
These are services that Cartograph offers. We can help you in a way that is compliant with Amazon policy. Build reviews on your listings. It's something that I think we've been very good at. These things are not easy for a brand to do, right? If you exist on a brand side, right? I live in the agency world. We benefit from institutional knowledge, right? We have how many brands in our umbrella right now that we are learning from all of them at the same time. If you work for just one brand, I was a powerhouse, when I was building out tools myself, but I not how many people have a computer science background where they can start developing tools to automate aspects of their job. And even still, I could not do a lot of the things that we're doing right now and do my job as well as I'm doing it. We can do what we do because we're an agency and a brand can't do that. One thing, all right, so Amazon DSP is a very powerful advertising tool. As a brand, you don't have access to it. Agencies can access it. This is a walled garden product. Amazon.
What is DSP?
Display side. Oh goodness, I'm not going to remember the whole acronym. Amazon has an advertising network outside of Amazon. It does not just live on Amazon. Partially lives on Amazon. Also lives if you're on routers or you're on you're getting your news. Maybe you're watching Prime Video, or I think there's some free TV streaming. Maybe you're on IMDb. A lot of these other websites, Amazon has ads that can run there.
Amazon also owns other things like Whole Foods, for example.
They own a lot of properties.
Yeah.
They have a diverse advertising network. You don't have access to it as a brand. As an agency, Cograph especially, we're able to unlock access to all of this. This is a huge tool if you're a premium brand and you're not competing on a basis of price point, right? Like if you have a premium product and you don't want to participate in the race to the bottom, do you really want to sit on a search results page where all a consumer gets is an image of your product, a price point, and number of reviews? All right, Joe Blow has a $10 product. It's cheap as hell. It's not very good. But, if you're on a phone, you only get the first 80 characters of a title, right? You get even less to work off of. How are you differentiating here? Mm-hmm. So
you can tell an elaborated brand story in other ways.
If I could present creative with custom messaging and to a targeted audience off of Amazon where price point no longer becomes part of that conversation. Now,
you all have product design and development as a service, number one.
Yeah, absolutely. We've leaned in that area on more than a few brands. I myself have leaned in on the design side in terms of packaging. I can think of more than a few companies where we've leaned in, whether it's something as simple as pack sizes, whether it's packaging design.
You mean like maybe we should bundle this as a 3-pack instead of just a single sort of thing?
Maybe it's other way around. Maybe we can identify issues like your product, if it was an inch this way in this direction and instead of the other direction, you would be fitting into a different product size tier, and you can cut your FBA costs down. Oh, so maybe there's
like
small
chop an inch off the top, or instead make it taller instead of wider.
Exactly.
I see.
And you could fit within a different envelope. You can get your fulfillment costs down, right? Maybe it's just insights into what's happening on the marketplace. Something as simple as, right, like if you want to know up and coming trends, right, like this is why I go to things like Supply Side and Expo.
Like if you're selling a pre-workout, it should say pre-workout real big right there on that PDP.
It should
have some arbitrary name and then like real small. Pre-workout.
Yeah, sometimes it's a matter of creative adjustments. Sometimes it's a matter of actual adjustments on the product. Maybe you're experiencing issues with breakage.
What
right?
about ingredients specific?
So that's why I like to go to Supply Side, whether East, West, or Expo, what's happening in the industry, right? I think it's unfortunate to say Amazon and the general consumers pace several years behind whatever innovation is.
Oh, yeah.
I saw some great ingredients at Supply Side. Some great innovations. I don't think we're going to see that really trickle down to Amazon for a long time. When did Alpha GPC start to become a thing?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Like last year.
Is there stuff that you think are on the horizon that people should probably start?
Probiotics. Probiotics.
Joey wants to be the king of probiotics.
Joey is the one person that I think could be the king of probiotics.
Joey's got big plans for probiotics.
I think that the issue, right? Like the example, the poster child I use for this is folic acid as a supplement for pregnant women.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We knew in the 60s that pregnant women should be taking folic acid. But when did doctors start commonly recommending it? It was like early 2000s. It took 40 years for the average consumer to catch up to, science research, what we knew.
Start searching that directly on Amazon.
Well, I mean, at that point, it wasn't even so much an Amazon thing, but I mean, to your point,
Walgreens, CVS, and then...
And when did we figure out that, how much of the population is unable to methylate folic acid, right? There's a genetic mutation where I think it's like a fifth of the population is unable to actually metabolize folic acid into methylfolate.
The MTHFR mutation.
I knew he knew what I was talking about.
The motherfucker mutation.
Yes, exactly. And so pregnant women really should be taking methylfolate, But the average the average doctor hasn't caught up to that. So there's always this huge lag, and it's reflected in Amazon. I think Amazon's the poster child for that, where if there's a consumer education issue, like creatine's blowing up now. Now? How long is creatine?
Now?
Why now? It's been on the market for how long? I see these awesome ingredients.
I think these things are finally starting to penetrate the consciousness of the mainstream.
Well,
Exactly.
there's also TikTok and social media.
There's
and-
Andrew
I think
Huberman.
it's generational.
What?
Hey, Huberman's podcast.
Huberman, yeah, things like that, yeah.
Yeah, he's been talking about Alpha GPC now. It's starting to blow up. But I mean, Alpha GPC hit the market. I was at NutriBio and Alpha GPC was on the market.
Oh, yeah.
And now, how many years later, and I'm suddenly hearing the average consumer say the words Alpha GPC.
And it's like, oh, now.
And even still, like Alpha GPC, they talk about it for focus, but I think the science has moved on to like cytocholine, right?
Way better.
Yeah, way better. Absolutely. Alpha GPC, I think, is research on it for strength, right? And
some growth hormone stuff.
yeah, and so like you might see the average consumer catch up to that in a few years from now when they stop thinking that Alpha GPC is somehow for focus, right? I think Amazon is this huge lag. Supply side, I always think is a great way of knowing like what might start breaking into the industry in the next year, but I think it's a great indication of what's going to start breaking into Amazon like 4 or 5 years from now. And so I would say the answer to that is probiotics. We're seeing people talk about gut-brain axis, gut-immune axis, gut hormone axis,
Joint.
So it's like it's a lot of that stuff where
Joey's got some crazy.
I don't give a fuck about gut health or immunity when it comes to probiotics. What else are you doing for me?
it's, they have like a big conversation been like hormones. Like there was a company out of Italy that did this study. It had like 300 participants in a case study, and they were able to demonstrate modulation of estrogen in postmenopausal women.
Oh yeah,
but with a probiotic. And they did a similar size study for monitoring focus in college students, but with a huge pool of participants. And I think the research there is incredible, but you're not going to hear Huberman talking about that for years. You're not going to see Amazon consumers
it's
catch.
way too early.
It's way too early.
This is why dogs sniff each other's butts.
But at the same, well, I mean, yes.
They might just like the way it smells, Joey.
But
I like the way that smells. If I get in there close enough, maybe I can focus better.
But I don't think you're going to see. I think Amazon's. I think if you want to know what's going to be big on Amazon in the next year, you have to look at what hit the market like 3-4 years
So
ago.
what do you focus on as somebody who's going
So
out?
do you think
and
like
trying to-
turkesterone is going to blow up or something?
I mean, if it's not
Remember
good,
that.
if it doesn't get
Tomcat Alley has
Yeah,
been.
Tomcat is becoming huge.
And that was
Yes.
a Huberman one, right?
Yeah, but you might see Amazon sellers avoid that just because of the additional adulterants testing that's going to come with it.
Okay.
Very much so. But I mean, all right, so we can use this to segue into one of our favorite segments.
Right. Do you want to do his chart?
I don't know if we have time.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That's going to take a while.
So our segment, like, that's bullshit. And Eduardo's probably already he's already got some pulled up.
Oh, I love these.
I mean,
This
these are
is-
on TikTok. This is your competing marketplace, right?
For now.
They also do overlap.
Do you think they're going to get nuked? Do you think that we're no longer going to have TikTok in the United States?
I think there's two potential outcomes. TikTok gets pulled out of the United States. I don't think that's likely personally. If they stay in the United States, they're going to end up being held to the same responsibilities that Amazon's being held to via the FDA. They're going to get hit with a warning letter the moment that they start selling products with adulterated substances. If they try to become the new Amazon, FDA is going to treat them like the new Amazon, and they're going to be held to the same exact standards.
Well, they already are doing that.
Well, they're a hot dumpster fire right now.
Yeah.
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A.
As an older man, the best supplements you should be taking. Look at these guys. They're experts.
We've got two nurses, it looks like.
They're in scrubs. They must know about nutrition.
All right, let's play.
Is this
it.
a fucking slideshow?
Is there no volume?
It's a slideshow.
There's a link in the bio.
She legit.
Eduardo.
Now, they don't say the word testosterone. Look at that right now.
Yeah, TikTok.
They dance around these things by doing stuff like this.
Okay,
But
so
they do say it later on.
Let's audibly say it out loud so
Yeah,
listeners can know.
Great
so
for boosting.
slide one has some nurses. Go back to slide one. And like the tagline is, as an older man, these are the best supplements you should be taking. Go to slide 2. He picked a TikTok that doesn't have any audio. So
He's got gloves on at the fucking Walmart.
guy's wearing
It makes him look like a doctor, you know?
blue gloves at Walmart. Slide 2 is Shilajit. What does it say? What does it say?
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, go back. So great for boosting testosterone because as
And they're
we
using
age,
3s for ease.
yes, they are, but only in the first word mention of testosterone. So great for boosting testosterone because as we age as men, our testosterone, spelt regularly, starts to decrease every year. This is 100% natural and highly recommended for boosting test.
And how come babies don't have huge dicks?
Here's I mean, well,
Based on their logic.
And they can't really prove 100% natural.
they can't prove 100% natural, but I mean, let's just be honest. The great way for boosting testosterone as men is TRT, because if there was natural ways of doing it, then that would, people would be doing it. The reality is, like, if testosterone production is going down, there's very little you're going to do through your nutrition, I believe.
Okay, slide 3. So the second one. He's a lion's
They're
mane.
going to argue like Big Pharma doesn't want you to know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
she legit's the answer.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things are great
For
at
the
mimicking.
record, I freaking hate that name. It sounds stupid.
It does.
She legit or Big Pharma?
She legit sounds like a character on an anime video game or something.
Oh, this is a
It's
great
like
one.
a final boss or something.
I want to mention these products. They don't sell them in Walmart, but they're
So
That
they're-
is hilarious.
They're taking these products and looks like they're taking them into
To
Walmart and
Walmart.
taking a picture with
Taking
them. They're not
pictures
sold
in
at all.
Walmart with gloves on. This is great.
Okay,
This is,
so the next slide is lion's mane. It says great for decreasing chances of Alzheimer's, structure function claim of
disease and dementia.
It helps with focusing more and enhances a mental clarity.
I think
There's
there's.
so much wrong here.
Let's start with-
There's so much wrong
you can't
here.
say enhances. You can't really
Where
say
would you like to
disease and
begin
dementia.
on
Yeah.
just this slide, Mark?
All right, so I'm gonna ignore claims and things like that. We're just gonna. What are they saying? All right. Helps with focusing more and enhances mental clarity. Okay, maybe, but great for decreasing chances of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. We barely have a full grasp on what causes Alzheimer's disease and dementia. It's a highly controversial topic. I think there's even less, if any, research to support lion's mane and turkey tail, and cordyceps is somehow doing it.
And they're just trying to push it as lion's mane.
Yeah, they're just saying lion's mane. They're ignoring. I don't know why they even use this product as an example.
has 4 different mushrooms on it, and it also says
Oh, yeah, there's
10
reishi.
in 1 on the front of the label.
They're using the same font and color we're using for our mushroom supplement for core culture. I'm just going to point that out there. Those bastards.
That product's not even sold in Walmart.
No,
No.
it's not.
There's so much layers of deception about just this one slide. It's
Yes,
sure we can throw bullshit all over
Literally
this.
looks
Yeah.
like they took our core culture
I think
freaking supplement and just like
Does it
ripped
hurt more? Does it hurt more because A, they ripped you off and they're wrong?
and they're just full of shit, and they're using gloves to make it look
Well,
like
and
they know
they're
what
lying,
talking
which
about.
we aren't doing that. We
So many layers of
yeah.
deception.
They're making
yes.
function claims, which we don't do that. Like,
Next.
CMOS. Here we are again
Fuck
with the fucking
me.
Oh
CMOS.
my god! So we have trace amounts of 92 minerals. Okay, good for you.
This has
Wait a
90
minute.
This has 92
All right,
minerals of
keep
the
going.
body's
Just keep going.
102.
All right, as you age, you become more mineral deficient. Based on what? On top of the soil being nutrient deficient. Okay, based on what? It's best to get the supplements. All right, so taking trace amounts of minerals from CMOS is not going to somehow make you not deficient, and taking a whole lot of minerals at the same time is also not going to make you not deficient, because there are.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pump the brakes.
Oh, pump the brakes. What do you got?
How many minerals?
It's
92.
92 minerals.
Of 102
And there's 102?
in the body.
I
Are
don't-
there?
I don't-
there?
I don't
I don't
know.
think
Are
so.
there? Because
There probably is
all
hundreds
right,
of thousands. Right?
I had a client call where someone was claiming some shit like this to me, and I got really upset because they're saying, "Well, we've got like 65 or 82, and these motherfuckers are claiming 92 minerals." At what point in listing your 92 minerals are you just saying random fucking shit on the periodic table?
Yes.
Oh, you mean to tell me your CMOS contains lead?
Yes.
And
Probably.
that's an essential trace mineral for my fucking diet? How about uranium? There is no level of fucking uranium that you can convince me is safe for my fucking ingestion. I'm sorry. Or lanthanum, or plutonium, or any of these fucked up radioactive elements or heavy fucking metals, because once you get over, I don't know, probably 30, 30 minerals, you're just going to start listing shit on the periodic table.
We've discovered new minerals. You don't
Well,
understand.
what was it? The periodic table goes to ununpentium, ununheptium. Like, that's 117. The body doesn't use 102 fucking minerals.
What I want to know where the francium is.
It's in there, apparently.
That's a very explosive
Do
product.
you really have a C of A where you're testing everything by ICP-MS and, you know, that you've really got data that shows on your C of A that, yes, we do have uranium and francium and europium and thorium and all these other fucking things.
gold in them sea moss.
Of course there's got to be, because you got to get to 92 by going through gold. Platinum. I'm ingesting platinum. Okay. Like,
How do you think they got the helium in there?
Fuck. I don't fucking know. I don't know. But this is the most nonsensical shit I've ever seen. Like, when you have a high number like that, this is a serious case of more is not better.
You know what?
Or true.
What I'd like to see is every single one of these minerals declared on the label, so that when they go to sell it on Amazon, they have to prove that they're all in there.
Yeah.
The
Declare,
thing is, look at
declare
this.
92 minerals on a 2-inch lateral label.
But TK, there's 19,445 milligrams per serving.
Of what?
sea moss.
Give me a fucking break. There's not 20 grams of shit in each fucking serving in that.
Maybe
That's
there is.
defying the laws of physics.
I mean, there could be 20 grams of fiber.
Give me
No, not in the capsule itself.
Think about it.
It just
per
says-
serving.
it just says-
Look at that bottle.
per serving.
It says 19,445 milligrams per serving.
Yeah,
it
but
doesn't
the
say-
capsules
of what?
only have 1,000 milligrams of space.
Maybe it's a 20 capsule serving size.
No.
So it's a giant.
These guys are full
Pill.
of fucking shit. These guys are the
They're
scourge
full of
of the
shit.
industry. Why isn't the FDA going over these fucking deceptive fucks?
Because no one's gotten hurt yet, right?
See if they're
to our
selling
other
on. Hey,
conversation.
search them real quick on Amazon.
What's even the brand name? Can you see it?
OUGAVA. Ojava.
Java? Like a Ouija board mixed with coffee?
No, put in Ojava. There is one that we've already seen before.
Oh, we've shit on them before plenty of times.
No, in Amazon.
Control scroll. Get in on that thing.
What is wrong with you?
He got it. He got it.
Okay, well, boom, they're right there.
Wait a second. Is that Shilajit made from the same guys in a different package?
I think so.
$27.99. It is for sale on Amazon.
Okay, let's see that label. What are they claiming?
92 trace nutrients. Can go fuck themselves.
If Amazon's listening, let's go take. Oh, see, and this is the thing. They're not claiming mineral content. They're like go back to
using-
the supplement facts panel.
Oh, God.
Okay,
Buckle up, buddy.
So Zoyava.
So 2
Z-O-Y-A-V.
capsule serving size. They're claiming equivalent to 7,000 milligrams of sea moss powder.
7 kilograms of sea moss.
7 grams.
Give me a fucking break.
How did they determine that it's equivalent to 7 grams?
20-to-1 ratio, bro.
What's the 20 extract? What would he extract? What did we standardize?
They don't
into?
even fucking know what they're talking about. You really think they know the answer to that question?
wanna know.
They're just multiplying their
They call
dose times 20 and saying you're eating 7 kilos of sea moss.
When COVID kicked off, this was a huge thing with elderberry.
7,000 milligrams, not 7 kilos.
We saw this. We saw this a million times with elderberry. We saw these like 20-to-1
7 grams.
extracts.
I'm
But when you
sorry.
actually talk to the brands, you said, "What do you extract?" Like the manufacturer, "What are you extracting for?" They'd be like, "Well, we're not. We're just making it into a powder."
Well, in our case, like with core culture, we do this same exact thing with our mushrooms, but we know that we're extracting beta glucans.
okay, that's different because you're standardized for something.
Yes.
All right, sea moss. We just said that it contains 8 trillion different minerals.
ratio
Yeah.
extract does not necessarily
Okay. Let's go back to
that you're
the
getting
shit that we
that.
were arguing about
I'm
earlier.
sorry. Was it really an argument?
Do they need to be? No, I was trying to get you to elicit good responses. But I mean,
We got more bullshit to go through.
should this be taken down Amazon?
Should this be taken down? I don't know. Does it meet label claim? I mean, can they? Right, we say equivalent to, and this is a huge question with Amazon, right? Like we have these testing requirements.
Third-party lab tested.
So what
that
standards
little badge doesn't mean a fucking thing.
what standards do we hold this product to, right? Because they have this supplement facts panel. They say we have these extracts that we're equivalent to, but there's no standardization here. Does Amazon come along and say, all right, listen, these are botanicals. There's no standardization
Oh my
listed.
God, review. So as a medical professional, I know when taking products, it takes 4 to 8 weeks for your body to build up the best results. The key is to taking it consistently and keep it flowing by consuming daily recommended amount of water.
Medical professionals do not talk like that.
I am totally a real person and purchased this product.
Yeah.
It's actually made me quite constipated.
But my whole thing is like, if there's no standardization here, what is Amazon testing for? Are we just going to do identity testing on botanicals? Do we have procedures established for doing identity testing on sea moss?
I hope this quote unquote rollout with sports nutrition, weight loss, and sexual enhancement really gets applied to the rest of these fucking idiots.
Well, so Amazon already said that they're going to expand beyond those 3 categories.
If we could just get botanical testing, that would annihilate so many brands
absolutely.
off.
Because so many people aren't actually using what they think they're using.
Not at all.
Alchemist Labs, please help us out.
Alchemist, Alon, like, please encourage these guys.
Okay,
to start botanical.
So the
testing.
next one on the TikTok slide, the first TikTok, we're going back to it.
Yeah, TikTok.
All right, so
So
this
the next
CMOS
slide-
is fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
Sorry.
CMOS is bullshit. Okay, moving on.
The next one is Body Fortress Whey. Click on it, Dordo. There you go. The most digestible protein you should be taken quick and efficient. I don't understand that.
These medical professionals with their gloves don't even practice proper grammar.
Highly effective for building lean muscle mass and keeping muscle. I love how they should have had a conversation about this. We should wear gloves.
I mean, the
We
claims
should
they're
definitely
making here,
keep wearing the gloves.
like, yes, what
That's
is it?
actually at Walmart. So that's actually
What-
something people could buy.
Joey, help me
Yeah.
out. What is it? Protein digestible.
What's up with the gloves?
Amino acid score. What's that? What is
It's
it?
called the PDCAAs.
Thank you. So, I mean, yeah, whey is the most digestible based on that metric. I don't know. Not really bullshit. Whey is great. It's better than plant protein.
I'll give them a pass on this one.
Yeah, okay. I don't understand the gloves, but we'll move on.
They get a B- for shit grammar.
And then this man's just chowing down on some food. What we got?
He's opening the
Oh my
pump.
god.
Oh, NZT48.
Why are you doing this to us?
Happen to his body. Within the first 24 hours of taking it, you'll feel a massive boost of energy as it starts to take
Research
effect.
chemicals.
After a week, you'll start to see improved focus and memory as your body begins to fully
Oh, I
absorb
love it when
the
TikTok
powerful
encourages research
ingredients.
chemicals.
By the second week, you wouldn't even recognize
This
yourself
is like the
in
4th
mirror
week in a row we've seen this bullshit on this brand, and we've already determined
is
Are
it
it's
you
bullshit.
fucking trolling us right now?
Is it a research chemical?
Eduardo is literally trolling us
What
by
is
giving
this?
us the same crap every week, week after week. You have a whole week to fucking choose new TikToks, and you
I love it. What is it? What's in it?
Oh god. Take him to the
do we
website.
really need to go
Eduardo.
to it again? This is the same people that
Is it just theobromine? Is that my
no.
I wish
can't
you were
spell
right.
ashwagandha
I
right.
wish you were right. As much of a benefit of a doubt as you want to give these people.
Is it? It's just banging pill. Oh god. Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen this before.
All right, show him, Eduardo.
This is like the quote unquote limitless drug.
Yeah,
they
NCT.
basically
they
trademarked
licensed
on
the name from the movie or something.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, good lord. This is gonna be great. Yeah, it says limitless on it. The ultimate brain booster. What does it got? Oh no, 750 milligrams. First ingredient, alpha GPC.
All right. Slow down.
No,
Let's do it again.
This
Let's
is
slow down.
terrible.
4th time in a row.
Oh
Take it
my
in.
god,
Take it
this
in.
is really bad.
Take it in.
I
Just
mean-
take it in.
Caleb, can we move on?
How many wrong things do you see?
I'm right now. I mean, I'm mostly just flipping out over the amount of ingredients in this blend, and it's only 750 milligrams.
Go forwards, go backwards, find all the mistakes.
All right, so we'll start out with amount per capsule is on the left-hand side. It should be over to the right above the actual amount per capsule. I don't
It doesn't
understand.
have to be. You could split them like that. That's a clickable feature in the software.
I mean, you should still have it over like the correct column. But I'm going to go through the list. All right, so alpha GPC in underdosed. EGCG from what? Caffeine.
Is that
HC.
how? Is that how you?
No, that's not correct at all. EGCG, green tea, Latin name, what part is it coming from? What's it standardized to? All that fun stuff. Caffeine HCl. I mean, I think that's an ingredient, right? It's not something I've seen before.
Caffeine hydrochloride.
Even
Yeah.
if you have it, you're supposed to spell out hydrochloride. Keep
HCl
going.
should be spelled.
Guarana. Okay, what's it standardized to in terms of caffeine content? 5-HTP. That doesn't seem right.
It needs more words. There.
It does. It needs a lot more words. Theobromine.
What is it, Joey? Say it. Come on.
Help me out,
Come on,
Joey.
our Dexter.
Griffonia subplicifolia seed extract standardized for 5-hydroxytryptophan.
Thank you.
That's what it should say. ladies and gentlemen.
Theobromine. I think that's also. Do we have synthetic theobromine on the market? I don't
I
think
think
so.
that's okay. I
Yeah?
think synthetic theobromine is okay.
Okay. I'm seeing a bunch of things in there that shouldn't I mean, this continues on. DL phenylalanine, there's no dash. Acetyl L-carnitine. Nalt, who uses Nalt anymore? Ginkgo, yeah, okay, that's also wrong. Bacopicide,
Not a thing.
Bacopicide's not a thing. I mean, you could have Bacopa. It's standardized. Ashwagandha, what do we standardize to? Probably nothing.
Pretty sure ashwagandha is spelled wrong.
NADH, that's not how you're supposed to do that. Phosphatidylserine. We'll just start with the simple fact that it's probably
Pure, bro.
It's pure. Yeah, no, it's not sunflower extract at all. And also, what is the dosage on phosphatidylserine? It's like 3 grams, 5
Giving
grams.
him way too many benefits of the doubt.
Uridine, okay, that would be a cool ingredient. I don't think it's B complex. B complex? We're just leaving it at that? Where's your micronutrient breakdown? Rhodiola, I mean, we're just beating a dead
X.
horse. 99% muco. Oh my God, this is horrible. There is so much wrong here. Where's the FDA?
Where's a class action lawsuit?
Where's Amazon? I'm gonna a quick sidebar here. I'm sorry, but can we talk about homeopathic things on Amazon? There's a brand that claims to cure cerebral palsy on
Oh my
Amazon
God.
with
The
frankincense.
homeopathic is some weird shit because isn't it where they can make drug claims?
They can make drug claims, but it's basically dietary supplements without the rules.
Mark, if
Well,
NZT
and without the potency,
if
might I
NZT
add.
Yes.
48 comes to you and says, Mark,
Help us.
I cannot, in good conscience, work with a brand like that.
and they put what'd your boss say if they just put a bag of money on a table and they're like,
Help us.
here's millions of dollars. You know we're gonna make
I
so
would be-
much money together.
I would
have-
be
I have a great answer
the
to this.
John Taffer of fucking supplements and be like, "Are you kidding me?"
So, Cograph partners with brands that are either better for you or better for the planet. And we have values that we pride ourselves on, whether brands are, glass packaging, sustainable packaging, intended for people's health and well-being. We partner with really, really great brands. Again, seriously, sustainability, healthy things. If it's
That's so California of you.
it is. You know what? But it's
They're an
something-
Austin-based brand.
and
Cograph?
Yeah,
Based out of Austin?
technically speaking, they're based out of Austin. We're all remote, but I think it means a lot to me to work at a company where we are proud of the people that we work with.
So
and
you're
I don't-
saying you can, in a conversation with your boss, be like, there are red flags from a moral standpoint here, and they'll be like, say no more.
I believe that
It doesn't matter how big that bag of money is.
We've turned people away before. I can't say specifics, but I can tell you that if they came to me and asked me to evaluate a brand that was in the dietary supplement space, and I simply said it would be unconscionable to work with this
Big
brand.
bag of money, and then a Bentley's delivered to your house the next morning.
Well, what if they were
Okay.
I guess if they were like, well, we need help. Can you tell us how we can make changes here?
Oh,
Recommend-
100%. What are we doing wrong?
Yeah.
If a brand wants to do the right thing, I am 1,000% there for that. Like, okay, let's go do the right thing. Let's go.
What if they say that and don't? You just stop?
Yeah, at that point, I have issues, right? There are brands that stand for a lot of good things. We work with those brands. I'd say that there's a lot of brands that want to work with us, and we're not. There's no short supply of brands that want to do the right thing and want to work with Cograph.
Well, it's kind of like with us. There's kind of like you need to meet a criteria.
Yeah, of
One,
course.
money. Two, like, are we a good fit?
Yeah, of
for
course.
long term and all that
no,
stuff?
that's a conversation that's not usually in my wheelhouse. But if my conversations are usually like evaluating an opportunity or looking at a brand and seeing what we're looking at and just interpreting the situation. If an NZT comes to me and says, "Will here's a big bag of money," your product has to change in radical ways in order for me to do that and sleep at night. I don't think that's unfair.
All right. What we got
Dwario,
next?
we got the next one.
What do we got? Multivitamin and hair growth. So it must contain spermidine.
4 hours. The Mary Ruth with hair growth has a discount plus free shipping, so I wanted to share about it. This is my 4th bottle of the hair growth formula. It has Listreva in it. I paid for this my own money. Nobody gifted me this. Before this one came out, I used the regular Mary Ruth's. So important to have a complete multivitamin when you're on these GLPs because hair loss and shedding is a side effect. So I've been using this to combat some of that shedding and hair loss, and I'm really happy with it, which is why this is my 4th bottle of this. So if you ever wanted to try it, I just wanted to share.
Help me out. When hair loss and shedding is if something to consider when you're on what?
GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic.
Oh,
I mean, anytime you're fucking starving the shit out of yourself, I mean, any
Stress.
anorexic chick at home knows that, that's just part of the territory.
So, I mean, that must come with cortisol then, right?
Well, let's look what's in this product and
Comes
see
with
what.
nutrient deficiency, bro.
So it's a multivitamin for hair growth.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look.
And it's got Listriva in it. All right, let me
Mary
just pause.
Ruth. I've seen this at HEB.
Mary Ruth is actually pretty fucking legit.
I've seen
Yeah?
this at HEB.
I don't know anything about this product. I want to see it. I don't know Listriva as an ingredient.
It is a fancy form of biotin that's marketed by Nutrition 21.
Oh, I love Nutrition 21. Let's take a look.
$74.95.
Vitamin A. Okay, so I had a very interesting conversation recently with Mike Roberto. And
Do we want to go there right now?
Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh God! I'm starting talking about vitamin A. with
Let's
Michael
give
Burrow.
them some redeeming points. At least it's
Okay.
beta carotene.
It's beta carotene. No, this is cool. This is cool. Hold on. Let's zoom in on this. Can we? Oh, there we go. All right, so vitamin A, C, D, E. I mean, this is just a multivitamin, folate. It's methylfolate, right? Calcium L5. It's methylated.
Over 100%.
Inositol, and they have a registered trademark version.
I'd
of
like to see them
inositol.
come down on their B6 content. I mean, it's not crazy high or anything, but you don't need to be
It's the
that high.
point of the proprietary branch chain amino acid.
I'm not even
complex
down there yet.
At 25 milligrams.
I'm looking at the forms
Okay,
of
that can
micronutrients.
fuck right off.
All right, so Lustriva, inositol stable, that's Nutrition 21 all over it. That's cool. I don't know anything about that ingredient, so I'm not going to comment there. MSM, okay, I don't know about
30.
any. 30 milligrams is low. I don't know. I've never seen research tying MSM to hair
Most of the
growth.
bottom can fuck off.
I mean, betaine,
at 10 mgs.
what?
The
Anhydrous?
fuck's that for? At 10 megs.
What the fuck is? I don't know.
Is it anhydrous? Is it hydrochloride?
Hesperidin?
Does it matter at 10 milligrams?
I'm going to give them some credit. There's a couple ingredients here. I just don't know. I've never seen research on these tying them to hair growth. I'll say that there's a lot of obvious things missing here. Where is the 8 grams of carbs coming from?
Flavor.
What?
You got vegetable glycerin in there. You got some xanthan gum.
Oh, this is a liquid. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Tablespoon.
Evaporated seawater, so distilled water. Why has it got to be from the sea?
I don't know.
Maybe
Because all the salt's gone.
maybe it's just sustainable because of
Maybe
something.
they got the halide still in it, some chlorine and
because
shit.
sea moss.
What are they doing with the well, never mind. I'm going to move on from there. I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's I usually like to see if we're talking about.
Is it worth $74 for?
No.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, listen, liquids are expensive to ship.
Is it worth $74?
Yeah, I don't know about $74
Worth?
expensive liquids to ship.
Worth? I don't know.
75.
Yeah.
It's 30 servings.
I mean, what would it cost to include biotin and silica in this mix? What would it cost to
You know
include
what?
spermidine?
I don't see.
I feel like
silica.
MacroCap
There's no
Labs
silica.
can make this for
25 milligrams of BCAAs. At what
relatively
ratio?
cheap, and you don't have to
I think that
charge that much money for
This
it.
is 8 times over COGS
Yeah.
minimum.
Well, they could just have an inflated retail price just so they can, they may have an inflated direct consumer price in order to bolster their retail.
It's not a terrible product.
If
It's
you're-
no NZT48.
If we're oh god, no, not at all. I think we're talking about like nutrient deficiency from Ozempic or something like that.
Starvation, you mean?
Starvation, yeah. If we're talking about that, then we're missing some obvious nutrients. Obviously, they're not making that claim because that's not a claim that they would be allowed to make.
I do love the lockup for Mary Ruth. I like the
Yeah, I'm not.
the branding's good.
Yeah, branding's good. I'm not speaking to product quality here. I think that there's some ingredients here that just don't make any sense. Like, why is such a low dose of
I
BCAAs?
love that R and the way the T goes over the U.
I would, if you're starving yourself, I think a multivitamin and spermidine is sufficient.
Yeah.
I heard spermidine's got shit absorption.
I mean, maybe it does. Maybe we have to look at estrogen and
The flavor's really nice.
and bioperin for that.
All right, let's go to the next TikTok.
Next
'Cause
TikTok.
Look
God,
at this
no.
guy.
Me and my IBS heading to the comments. Oh boy, I cannot wait. What medical claims are we making today?
Hi, Kayla and Kayla's IBS. So array bloat actually works
Array
incredibly
bloat.
well for people with IBS. We use
Disease
really
claim.
clean ingredients. So the product is so gentle on your stomach. It helps with inflammation and it also helps with IBS symptoms. We ran clinical
can't
trials
say
for our
that.
product and 74% of the participants actually felt fewer IBS symptoms and less gassiness.
That's not a
within 1
clinical
hour
endpoint.
of taking the product. I'm
An
really excited for you
hour.
to try this, especially if you're struggling from IBS. And I've kind of linked it just in TikTok Shop right here.
This guy said nothing. You said a whole bunch of nothing.
Array bloat. He said it's a product.
Yeah.
It's for bloating.
I have a product. It does your thing.
Are
Hi.
they dead?
Your
I don't know.
We got a lot of warnings.
There's no.
constipation.
Heartburn.
It's a nice amber
Discounts.
glass bottle, which they probably spend too much money for. Man,
Sustainable. It's not plastic.
Do we want to try to guess the formula before we get
I
to
don't
it?
even want to go in that conversation.
Enzymes? Dill? I'm going with dill. If they don't have dill, fuck them. Ginger. Okay. Dandelion, lemon.
Do we have a supplement facts panel? I see ingredients. I don't see.
Slippery elm. That's it.
They don't have a supplement facts panel.
Go
Look at
back.
the
Yeah,
website.
yeah,
I
they
see.
do. Go back.
I saw ingredients.
It's just ingredients.
Oh,
Organic.
scroll up again.
Go to details.
And then supplement facts and ingredients, bottom right of the picture.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Organic
So it's
ginger
really
extract at
ginger.
220. It's just 220 mgs of ginger.
This is
And well, it's got a 1,080 milligram proprietary blend of a bunch of organics.
I mean,
Organic slippery elm inner bark extract. What the hell does that do, Joey?
helps your digestion. Slippery elm.
It's slippery.
It slips your hands, your feet, and your guts.
Peppermint, organic bromelain.
Bromelain, peppermint, and ginger are the top three contenders here.
Okay, so at 1 gram, will that do anything for you, Joey?
Depends on the specifications, which they are not technically obligated to tell us.
Yeah, I'd be curious what the ginger extract is standardized to.
This is kind of like that thing we watched last
They did
week.
some intentional mystery boxing here to keep things a little
Vague.
vague for a couple of reasons. They could have a high specification, and it's actually a really efficacious product, and they don't want people to know how good it is. Or they
Why would they do that?
did a no spec, so maybe they start out with a really nice specification and slowly cut their costs to using shit ingredients,
Backed
or
by clinical trials.
they use shit ingredients the whole time.
I'd be curious what their clinical trials are. I'm wondering what they're quoting.
It's not published, I guarantee you that.
They got a whole page on it on their site.
Quote unquote.
Okay, well, IBS is a really complicated
Click clinical
thing.
trials. I'm interested.
For one, IBS is a very complicated thing.
Yeah, and it's a disease claim, and they're making all these disease claims. Or at least Home Dog in the video is.
IBS really is at its core, I believe, a mental thing. Like
I mean, if you have Crohn's,
You're
right?
full of
IBS is a side effect of Crohn's, right? That's a real thing.
you're full of shit.
That is.
I'm not. It's my brain. No, I
mean,
you
IBS
just need
could-
poop.
No. A lot of times, like with people with IBS, it's a mental trigger. Sometimes they'll eat something that'll trigger something, and sometimes, like people with gluten intolerances, will have certain other triggers where they'll eat gluten. It will trigger their IBS. It has really nothing to do with anything other than that their mind is playing tricks on their body, and they
it's a
start to believe it.
Food intolerance, or maybe they just don't like what they're eating, or
Yeah, but it's like triggered anxiety. There's some things that will trigger anxiety, and then it will spiral. IBS is one of those things.
I think yeah. I mean, there's a mind stomach connection there, right? Like stress can cause cortisol.
Yeah, but it's not fully understood.
No, it's
also.
not fully understood.
It's actually not understood at all.
But
so
I think
to make these claims is really, really,
it's
irresponsible if you ask me.
it's a digestive support from what I can see.
Okay, you can just say that.
Yeah.
all right.
You
so
should just say that.
instead of reviewing a product to like wrap up our podcast, do we want to talk about what we did earlier in our beautiful halls?
We went to a
yes.
rock show.
Yeah, it was a
Hard rock.
There was hard rock.
We went to a heavy metal hard rock show.
There was soft rock.
Oh yeah.
there
there
was
was-
smooth rock.
I got into some heavy metal when I was there,
Yeah, there was some heavy metal.
and actually some classic rock.
There was some psychedelic rock.
I even got into some ancient rock.
There
If
was
you've
ancient.
even fucked with ancient rock.
Beyond classic.
Beyond.
So Joey, like a week ago, was like, when Mark comes in, we're gonna take him to a rock show.
And you were like, "Fuck yeah, who are we gonna go see?"
I'm like, who's playing?
I was wondering the same thing.
I go and look at the listings of Cynthia Woods, Mitchell Pavilion to see like who's playing this week, and I'm like, it's some country bands. Like I like them, but Joey, you would never like them. This is not a rock concert. He said, we're not going to a rock concert.
We're going to a rock show, and it was the
It's a minerals show.
Conroe
They're minerals, Murray.
fossil and mineral.
There were
show.
fossils too. Yes.
Dead dinosaurs, dead plants, dead bugs, dead sea creatures.
He ended up having a really great time and spending a lot of money on some bullshit.
I fucking copped this super dope Nautilus shell.
That is so awesome. That's really cool.
Beautiful phi spiral that is probably like over 100 million years old. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
That's really cool.
Purely petrified. This ancient mollusk is now a rock forever.
We have an example of hard rock here.
Yeah. I got
Go ahead
that.
and get that picture.
I got that hard rock there.
Yeah.
You got
It's rock hard.
It's a small one.
You got a bag of those chodes.
I got a whole bag of dicks.
Now, what did you
for,
get?
for the
I
listeners.
got the little wiener rock.
What about this beautiful table piece?
And I got
here?
this piece here for the podcast because I thought
What-
it might be a nice little.
that is nice.
That is fucking. Do you even know what it is? Did you even like?
no clue.
You just got it. 'cause
The
there's a
dude who
party?
sold it to me was a complete stoner. He had like one of those psychedelic shirts
There were
on.
so many vendors that were like complete fucking stoners.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this one right here? I think this is so cool.
This one.
Yes, we have a slice
Okay.
of
The
meteorite.
last one's the coolest one.
This is
though.
that heavy metal.
This is heavy metal.
This is a cross section of a meteorite.
It's one of these for the people that are on Spotify, like I was
It
on
is
the plane.
really cool looking.
It's like there's like these really wild textures in it, like that you only get from like meteorite formations. If you're
How
like,
much was that?
I haggled this because it's $4 a gram and it was about 20 grams. And I was like, I'll give you $50. You pick out which piece of meteorite I get.
Oh, that's fair. I think that one's so cool just because of the textures.
And
And,
he
like,
was like, he's like, you can have this one.
I mean, it's neat. Like it
He
takes,
gave you this nickel, Fritz.
It takes like millions of years for that to form.
But it comes from very, very far away land, you know?
Dude, I was
Yeah.
talking. I was
I
talking
was-
to this one guy named Willie, and he actually harvests his own. Like he goes out and does these digs.
Yeah, he goes to
there's
the
a lot
mines.
of-
I talked to that guy for
Rockhounds
like
that they
30
do
minutes
this.
to an hour. Yes, rock. That's what he called himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, what the fuck am I doing with my life? This is the happiest, most joyous dude I've met in like weeks. And like he's just like, I like to dig rocks, and I have to come and sell them so I can dig more rocks. And that was his whole thing. He just wants to dig.
Dude,
Yeah,
the
he just
chick-
wants to dig.
The chick that was behind Willie's booth had fossils, sold a fucking fossilized turtle for $40,000 on day one. And she didn't give a fuck. She's the one who sold me this Nautilus here. This cute little Nautilus, $60.
I think you got had, dude.
Nah, that thing's cool.
Where the fuck am I going to find this? Other
Where
than
the
a
heck
rock
did
show
she
like
I don't
find
know,
it?
probably Amazon.
She probably got a wholesale deal, some fucking swap meet in Tucson.
She probably
Got it polished.
Yeah, it's probably exactly what happened. There was a show just like today, just in a different city, and she just
Y'all-
bought it and marked it up.
I'll trade you this.
I think the last
uh,
one's the coolest one because
this one or that one.
the
The cube in the
This
cube.
one I just got because this pyrite.
Okay, well, that
so
one's cool.
for those of you guys don't know, like chemicals under intense temperature and pressure, they'll organize. And this is pyrite right here, and this is natural. And when you're talking about like natural versus artificial things, you would think a cube is a concept that is completely foreign, but no.
a perfect cube at that.
A
perfect cube.
Absolutely perfect cube of this molecular arrangement. And if you look into the corner of this one, for those of you who can't see, there's this edge. Do you want to show it close up?
Another cube.
Another cube
Being
embedded
formed.
into the cube.
There's a cube in the cube. It's cubeception. It's pretty cool though. That thing's wild.
Show him the edge, Eduardo,
Yeah.
of the
That
cube.
happened completely.
It's pretty
naturally.
edgy.
The cube,
is
very edgy.
That's amazing to me.
And this last one is Cinnabar.
The last one. Okay, let's tell the story. So I'll tell my perspective.
I gotta see this.
Don't
and then
throw it.
Joey, you can go in on it.
All right, go for it.
Joey, like a couple years ago, he was going really into the deep end about like things I should read. And he was like, "You need to get into alchemy."
It's very useful.
And he was telling me all about alchemy and how you can turn lead into gold, and how this is like a passage right of enlightened individuals, and there's this whole spiritual arc to it. And Joey, he says, "Well, I too am trying to turn lead into gold. I've been trying for some years."
It's very intimidating.
But this is a very difficult thing. It's called the Philosopher's Stone, right?
Well, this is like the first step, allegedly.
Yes. So he was telling me there's the first step, and you have to acquire this one mineral, and apparently it's very rare.
It's not that it's rare. It's found near volcanoes. And it's once again because of the high pressure, the high temperature. Rocks do weird shit when they're put under stress, and shit like this forms when rocks are put under stress.
That's what forms rocks.
Stress forms rocks.
Yeah.
Or at least like the cool gemstones, like your diamonds, your rubies, your sapphires, emeralds, the cool shit. It is always the result of lots of tectonic stress. This is Cinnabar, and Cinnabar is toxic.
Not to be confused with Cinnabuns.
No, not to be Cinnabuns, or anything else. It is Cinnabar. It is a red. So you'll look at this. This is dolomite, and then there's another rock, and there's even little traces of Cinnabar that you can see in the bottom here. It's this red stuff. It's this little gem inside the gem, and it's mostly mercury sulfide, H2S. And mercury sulfide is supposed to be purified from this, and it is used as a catalyst in the conversion of turning one metal into another.
So that's the first step into the lead to gold.
Then you
But there's multiple steps from lead to
smash
gold.
this bitch up, turn it into powder, you separate it, you distill it,
Extract it, make it pure. And
Well, the thing is, like, you're supposed to separate the mercury from the sulfur and then rejoin them back together. And that alone is a task because
heating mercury will kill you.
Yeah, they say when Mercury puts on his winged shoes and starts flying around the room, he's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So this is a very dangerous
so
task.
this is solid mercury. Most of you are familiar with like liquid mercury that you find in thermometers and stuff, which is pretty stable at room temperature. But it also exists in equilibrium as a liquid and a gas at room temperature. So that's where he could put on his winged shoes and start flying around. That mercury vapor, and many of you know that if you inhale it, it can give you horrible types of poisoning. Mercury salts, if they're absorbed through the skin, will cause death within a matter of hours. It's a very double-edged sword kind of thing.
And so you've tasked yourself with doing this?
I mean, I'll probably do it when I'm older, like when I've got a little bit better of an understanding. But I know that this
When
stuff
you go
is like
full
the
Hunter
beginning.
S and you're like,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
lived to the degree in which I wanted to.
Do you even have enough Cinnabar here? Do you need more?
I actually have more at home.
Do you have enough between?
I've been collecting.
Do you have enough in your collection, or do you still need more?
I don't fucking know, dude.
He's still afraid of the
answers.
mercury thing.
I am too.
If you have enough, I mean, like it could only take like a small grain of this in order to transmute, one of the lesser metals into gold. But I don't know.
Why
Like,
don't you just go buy pure Cinnabar?
Can't.
What?
It's hard to find.
Hence the challenge.
Do you realize like how many rock shows I've gone to looking for Cinnabar?
Come to Jersey. We got one next month.
You ain't got enough fucking volcanoes, bro. I went out to Big Bend because they used to have Cinnabar mines out there. Went around there like, oh, they all got shut down. They got shut down back in the 70s. And I'm like, how come nobody's got any Cinnabar now? Don't fucking know. I guess they made too many thermometers.
Wow.
And they used to process the Cinnabar there. They used to make mercury there.
So there's no like pure extracted Cinnabar that you can get. I mean, I'm sure you can buy it somewhere, like some like chemical supply or something.
No. Yeah, I would probably need some sort of a license in order to handle it. I could probably get that license, but to have pure mercury sulfide, I don't fucking know.
Why do you have to break the mercury? And
I feel like that would also be cheating as part of the process because, like, part of it is like you are supposed to purify this as you were like purifying yourself on like a practical and like a spiritual and psychological.
You're
level.
supposed to sort of cheat death. That's a part of the.
Yes,
That's
why
the spiritual part of.
That is why like most of the people that claim they have the Philosopher's Stone are fucking liars, and most people who have the Philosopher's Stone ain't fucking claiming it. Because in a way, like you do cheat death, and in some texts they even say like you like recreate the entire.
And this
universe.
text is on a green tablet. What's the?
Now the Emerald Tablet is like it's a different thing. Like that is a very vague. There's better text like in the writings of Nicholas Flamel. For those of you who watch Harry Potter, Nicholas Flamel has talked about a whole bunch in Harry Potter, or in the writings of Paracelsus.
Like Harry Potter, in many ways,
Or
is
John Dee.
inspired by this story.
Like the first one?
The first one.
Sorcerer's Stone?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. I'm not that hip to Harry Potter.
Yeah, neither am I.
But anyway, let's sum it up. So, Cartograph, spelled C-A-R-T-O-G-R-A-P-H. Cart-O-graph.
We make the maps to success.
how do people find you and get in touch with you and find out more information?
Go cartograph.com. Reach out to us. There's a contact form. Our team will reach out to you. If you are in the dietary supplement space, I will likely be tapped in some capacity.
Do people reach out to you directly on LinkedIn?
Oh,
Find
absolutely. You? If you don't want to necessarily if you don't need an agency, you just want to talk shop. Sometimes that does lead you to deciding to work with us, which I am all for. But yeah, always happy to connect with anybody. Love talking Amazon supplements.
What's your LinkedIn? Your full name?
Mark Bruggeman. So that last name is a mouthful, and my first name is spelled with a C, just because I like to be difficult.
M-A-R-C?
M-A-R-C. I spell it the right way, unlike everybody else.
How do you spell your last name?
As B as in boy, R-U-G-G-E, M as in Mark, A, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy.
Bruggeman.
Bruggeman.
Very German.
Cool.
Awesome. Who we have next week?
Landon Suggs
Fuck
of
yeah.
Inspired.
Ooh.
We'll see you guys next week.